to call this thing?
I got it. Okay. Incredible, new, fantastic, astonishing, mighty, original, uncanny, sensational podcast.
I'm just going to put down Infamous.
Hello and welcome to Infamous, the audio podcast. This is Brandon, or Mutilus on the forums.
And this is Parker. I actually don't know if I go by anything on the forums anymore, but usually it was Tweak.
This is Jermiger Constragon, and I go by Jeremy on the forums.
I like that.
I like it.
Side note, check out our Facebook page for access to our upcoming t-shirt release. It's going to be a good one, guys. I can see it.
I like it.
All right, so some quick announcements. Hopefully, obviously we're casting into the future here, but I believe our battle reports are finally going to be caught back up now. I'm actually making some progress. Yeah, we have recently recorded the Ultron Ultimate Encounter mission at normal difficulty, and we'll release that soon. And then we're going to go through all three of the Ultimate Encounters at normal difficulty. Then we'll go back through on hard, and then again on insane. And you'll get to see us play those. I think they're fun. I think they'll be more entertaining to watch than your average battle report, because I don't know how often people get to do those. Alrighty, so that's going to take us into our next segment. Parker?
News. So, news coming at you this time. First off, we got some release dates, and Brandon apparently is the one who's got his finger on that pulse. What's the release date, Paul?
It's release dates? All right, so obviously, if anyone's been paying attention to this game, the average release date for this game has been the second Friday of the month for every month so far, but December. I am a manager of a store, so I do a lot of ordering for the store, and I have been looking on Asmodee's website for the past week, and they have not updated the Atomic Mass Games releases for March. So there is a chance that we're not getting releases in March. Just heads up. Now, this is as of Wednesday the 24th, so if something has come out that I haven't seen yet, obviously that's news, but we haven't seen anything yet. So hopefully March, but maybe they'll hold off and we'll get a double release in April. Maybe we'll get X Factor or X Force and the rest of Brotherhood in April. Don't know. They also, Parker, do you want to go ahead?
Are you talking about release of the models we know of now?
Well, before I just start spoiling stuff that you were supposed to say, go ahead.
So we got Power Man and Iron Fist models. We got Power Man and Iron Fist models. Or rather, we have a cool model for Power Man, and then we have whatever it is that Iron Fist model is.
You don't like it?
Jeremy and I have opinions, and they're mostly negative about the Iron Fist model.
I was surprised. I've heard a lot of negative feedback on this guy.
Fiery dragon being fisted by some white shirtless dude. It's really weird.
I'd like to put my fist up a lot of yellowy fiery things.
I hate it. I hate it.
Okay. First, I'll actually say I like the Iron Fist, like the Iron Fist effect, like his actual Iron Fist, the energy thing. The fact that it's kind of winding around the model, I don't mind that at all because it's commonly the way it's shown in comics. What I don't like is him. There have been several awesome Iron Fist costumes, and none of the cool ones involved his bare chest. There have been some bare chest like Iron Fist costumes, and they're all atrocious from the 1980s and 70s. Iron Fist is a very old character, and his original models, you basically. I don't know if that's supposed to be a tattoo or his hair just grows like that. It makes me think of Joe Dirt. Joe Dirt, when his hair on his face grows, he goes, "What do you mean? Like your hair actually grows like that? White trash DNA is so ingrained in you that you can't grow your hair everywhere."
He's got like the sideburns down to his chin.
He's like, that's what I think of when I look at Iron Fist. I go, "Is that your body hair? Is your body hair that weird that it grows in the shape of a black dragon?" So
you're railing on this pretty hard as an Iron Fist fan. I will tell you, as a not Iron Fist fan, I've never seen him look like anything else, so I'm amazed you don't like it. That is the only Iron Fist I have ever known.
It is the one they. As soon as I looked at that, this is exactly the one they used in Marvel
Strike Force.
Marvel Strike Force. It is his exact one. Another exactly Marvel Strike Force connection.
I'm not hugely exposed to Iron Fist, but like I've seen like him portrayed in different media like probably 8 to 12 times. I've never seen him look like anything else. He's always like jumpy, spinny, flippy, skinny guy with abs and a dragon on his chest. Like that's all I ever see. That exact costume and a pose basically like that.
You're not wrong that he commonly has his chest exposed, but usually he's not completely shirtless. Usually he has like his arms are covered up and he has the big pop yellow collar. That's like the most common one. But in the modern era, he's had lots of different outfits, and they're usually like dark green, and he's got the yellow bandana on his head. You know, the half bandana like that. That's super typical. But everything else about his costume has been pretty mutable over the years. I don't know why they went totally shirtless. That's the only thing about it. I go, why doesn't he have his? If they're going to go classic costume, they should do the, it's supposed to be reminiscent of like Kung Lao Into the Fist kind of thing, right? With a big, pop collar and the covering. He has yellow gloves and stuff. I think I do not like it, Sam. I do not want it on my table.
I'm just hearing lots
I do not want
of
it in a
complaints
fable.
here. I don't know what you were expecting. I guess like to me, like you were like, this is not what I wanted. Like, what did you want? Like, I don't get it.
There have been some really, really cool Iron Man character
But they're not the standard. Like, there's been some cool Iron Man suits, but they're always going to release the basic one first. Like I don't know how you were expecting, like, not the norm.
So, let me... The problem I really have with it is the way the swoosh on the dragon, and then it kind of takes, like, a right turn. Like, it doesn't, like, look like a natural swoosh. So it just looks really awkward and weird, and also his shirt's off, and also he looks like Freddie Mercury. I don't need Freddie Mercury in my list. Makes great music.
How does he look like Freddie Mercury?
Shirt's off, yellow pants. Come on now, he's ready.
I mean, I don't think I've ever seen that. I don't see this model and go, "Oh, Freddie Mercury." Like that doesn't enter my brain at all. I will give you that the arc of the dragon does not look like a natural arc. But it might just be the angle we're looking at it. Like the head could go back a bit and swirl around, and we just can't tell because the angle we're looking at.
The angle.
Because we're looking like straight on the head of the dragon, and so anytime you're looking straight at the head, the shaft is going to be masked by it. So
oh my gosh!
No,
you guys, I didn't realize till just now it's a dragon. I hate that.
Oh my god! You are worthless.
No, I'm sorry. I took a look at the model, and I went straight for the shirtless. I went straight for the shirtless.
You're just like eyes laser locked on his navel, and I can't look away.
Yeah, this is the worst news. It's
maybe
like
you just don't like it because of how it makes you feel.
Oh, really? I just pulled up the model. Okay, so the reason why I pulled up the image again is I was actually trying to look at Power Man. I was like, okay, so if they went with a super traditional. Quasi-traditional because he has bands on his hands instead of gloves. And he's not wearing a shirt because he doesn't have the pop collar. So what kind of Luke Cage outfit did they go with? And they went with his like straight out of the modern era comics one where he's just wearing a yellow shirt and blue jeans. He does have the metal armbands, which is kind of.
Why do you keep saying Power Man? It's Luke Cage.
Power Man was his original name when they introduced Iron Fist. It was Iron Fist and Power Man. They were the original heroes for hire. So
yeah, well, he's Luke Cage now.
Cool. What I'm saying is, I think it's weird that they gave him a Dragon Fist, which he's never had that I know of. I've never seen him with a dragon. I have a lot of Iron Fist or comics featuring Iron Fist.
It's like the late in the first season of the TV show.
Oh, it's from the TV show.
No, I'm just kidding. It's not the TV show.
I actually couldn't stomach the TV show. I turned it off because I love Danny Rand. I love the character Danny Rand, and I did not like at all what the TV show was doing.
There is one episode of, I believe it's season 2 Luke Cage, that they actually do him right. Like, he's Danny Rand, actual Danny Rand, not weird, insecure Danny Rand, and they just basically buddy cop movie beat up a bunch of hand guys.
That sounds great.
And it was like, Yeah, and it was just like it was a one-off episode, and you never saw them together on screen again.
If you tell me what episode that is, I will watch it so fast because I love the Heroes.
I might actually look it up.
But there are dragons in Kunlun, the mystical realm where he learned kung fu, but they don't like transfer. That's not where he gets his power that I know of. I don't know if I've ever seen an Iron Fist like a display of his power featured as a dragon.
Well, I can tell you in some video games they do like dragon imaging and stuff with like the CGI, but yeah, I don't know specifically that they do it a lot in like the comics.
So he has Xiao Lao is the name of the dragon that is like the eternal flame, the heart of Kunlun. It's also like a derivative of his power. So like maybe that's where they're getting it. This is kind of like Xiao Lao like showing up in his Iron Fist. But when he uses the Iron Fist, it's always just like this great super cool energy just like pouring out of his body, right? I have not seen
Okay, real quick. The episode is Luke Cage Season 2, Episode 10. The episode name is The Main Ingredient. And on IMDb, the episode before episode 2.9 is rated 7.7. The episode after is rated 7.7. The Main Ingredient episode is rated 8.5.
There you go.
So there you go.
That's because...
It aired on June 22nd of 2018, which is clearly after you put your head in the sand about anything Iron Fist from Netflix.
Yeah. So anyway, I love Iron Fist and I love Luke Cage. I love the Heroes for Hire. So I'm excited to see their cards. I'm excited to paint his chest green.
I think this is an example of the angle we're looking at the model is not particularly flattering.
That's possible.
I don't think it's as bad. As far as the costume choice, like I think you're just being silly. If you thought it was going to be anything else, it's probably because you are overexposed to the new stuff because you actually consume Iron Fist media, being one of the 6 people on the planet that does so. And everybody else just sees what is forced in front of their face, like the people from WALL-E. And like, so we only know this Iron Fist.
Okay. Fair. I'm going to paint him green and I'm going to love it.
Okay. You mean his skin or...
Yeah, I'm just going to paint... Well, I mean, his whole body... His whole body looks like skin.
Hold on. Have you seen the Wolverine paint jobs where they paint him shirtless?
No.
They green stuff in the seams on his suit and they file down the ridges and they just paint him shirtless Logan.
Yeah.
Because the shirt's so skin tight anyway, you can see all the muscles. It's like, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, well.
And so, yeah, you could just paint a shirt on him. Like, It's not like, just paint a wife beater on him. They're like, he's Danny.
Yeah.
Because that's all he wore in the TV show was the wife beaters. I assume that's what he wears in the comics, right?
No.
I love teasing you about Iron Fist.
Okay. Also, in news, that was a long bit about that. Also in news...
wait. What's your problem with Luke Cage?
I don't, actually. The reason why I brought him up is he actually is like a modern retelling of the character, not the old classic with a circlet on his head and the afro. Like, he actually looks like he does in the modern version of him. And so
I don't think they would release that model in today's political climate.
I get it. So I think it's strange that they picked like kind of an old school classic shirtless Iron Fist and then like a newer modern Luke Cage, and they don't even call him Power Man.
I don't think. Right. Well, he's not Power Man anymore. He's Luke Cage. Like, he hasn't been Power Man like for a long time.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think this is, again, because 99% of people that know about Luke Cage only know this version of him. They're going with the most popular, not necessarily like the classic. It's like Star-Lord. Nobody knew what the original Star-Lord looked like, so the model is based off the Peter Quill Star-Lord.
True. That's true.
Even though it's still very similar, it is literally the Peter Quill version.
Mm-hmm. That is true.
That Peter Quill, the Chris Pratt version. I misspoke. Yes,
but that is. Yep, there you go. And that is true that the original Star-Lord outfit is wacky and weird and not very visually appealing. Like, it's goofy. It's a goofy outfit. It's very much like Flash Gordon style outfit. It is not cool. All right. So other news. We got in a Team Tactics talk, we have officially released presumably the cards coming with Deadpool and Bob, Agent of Hydra, and the taco truck. We already knew about Yoink. We've talked a little bit about it in this podcast. Tons of different effects. Make sure to bring a chair when you want to read Yoink. You only have to sit down to finish it. Chimichangas. Chimichanga is another one we know about, which is actually probably better than we originally read it. It looks pretty interesting, especially with Deadpool. And then we got the new card, the last one, called Pretty Sneaky Sis, which is a take of a commercial, which is wonderful. Just a pop culture reference that everyone, nobody under the age of 25 will probably get, but I think it's wonderful. Basically, it's an X-Force only card. It's reactive during the power phase. Any number of X-Force characters can spend 2 to get super stealth. Basically, they can only be targeted within range 2 that round
by attacks.
By attacks. Yes, by attacks. So also, I love the card art, which is Deadpool like just stapling some random Cable-like crap to his body to make him look like Cable, so that so he's just like put extra straps and buckles, and like it looks like a piece of cardboard for an arm, metal arm. It's pretty fun. So yeah, but super stealth, is this the first thought was, is this better or exactly the same as the Criminal Syndicate one?
It's effectively the same from what I can tell.
Yeah.
I didn't read the word for word verbiage, but I'm pretty sure it's the same. Which would not be the first time they've duplicated an affiliation card.
Yeah.
Because Mothership and Asteroid M are like functionally identical, if not verbally.
Isn't Rainbow Bridge also very similar too?
No, it's very different.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Yeah, because Mothership and Asteroid M are choose 2 characters, place one of them within range 1 of the other. A Rainbow Bridge is any number of characters can spend 3 to place themselves within 3 of themselves.
That's right. Yeah. So yeah, we're gonna have 2 factions now with a super stealth card, which I think is pretty cool. I like that a lot. We'll see. When we get a hand on the faction, it'll be a little more clear how useful it is. But yeah, that's really the news. We spent a good amount of time on those models, the outrage of those models, but otherwise, that's the news.
Outrage. Well, every time I hear you complain about Iron Fist model, all I hear is the guy on Facebook that was complaining about the Deadpool model. Is like, God, you ruined Deadpool. He's just a joke to you, isn't he? I'm like, what? Like, do you not know who Deadpool is? Like, does he think this is fucking like Deathstroke from DC or whatever? Like,
right.
This is not a serious character. Yeah, so every time you complain about Iron Fist, I'm just like, you're complaining about a character that's not taking himself seriously. Like, you need to get over it.
I will go ahead and say out loud that I will be playing a lot of Iron Fist. I don't care what his model looks like. I will be playing Iron Fist and I will have fun.
Hey, Parker, if you spend $300 and buy me a high-res digital resin printer, I will print you an Iron Fist and like clean it up for you. Ooh. So you don't have to get resin all over your hands.
Ooh. I actually, what I did while we were talking about this.
He's considering it.
What I did when I was talking about this is I just typed in Iron Fist costumes, and man, some of these are so cool.
For you to cosplay as Iron Fist? Because I don't really want to see that.
No. Just all the ones that he's had.
Oh, because you could do like, you know those people that do like the street performing, and they'll be like a guy in like a metallic suit, and they'll be like floating in the air with a cane, but there's like an iron rod that goes up his sleeve, and he like sits on this little platform. You could do that and be like Iron Fist floating in the air, and then you're like hanging from the Iron Fist display, and you're just like posed in the exact same pose as the model, and you're just floating in midair, shirtless, just all glistening.
God. I don't like anything about where this went.
All right, what's next?
Currently,
are you done?
Yeah, that was the news.
Oh, okay, news is done.
Mm-hmm.
There was a solid 3-minute pause there. Hopefully, that gets cut out. All right, so that's going to move us into what we're currently playing. Parker, I believe you got a game in for the first time this year.
Yay! This calendar year, yes.
I was not being sarcastic when I said that.
So I got to put my hands on some Inhumans, and as it turns out, the name Inhumans is kind of misleading because they felt very human and like mortal. They didn't feel very superhuman at all.
Even the dog?
The dog, actually, I'll say this. The dog felt amazing. The tactics cards felt great. The whole time I was like, ooh, I get to play all these tactics cards. I think I played all of them by turn 3. I had played every tactics card I brought, and all of them felt really strong. I really like the tactics cards. The Lockjaw's tactics card let me overextend and not worry as much about the consequences, and I was able to keep using my model even though I had overextended with it. And Field Dressing let me bring back Black Bolt, and he just did ridiculous amounts of damage on the turn he came back after taking, getting a couple extra power and being able to boost his abilities. Everything about the tactics cards felt great. And then everything about the characters just felt very average. I didn't feel like I was cheating at all. It just felt very fair. Like I was playing a fair game against MODOK and Magneto. And as it turns out, that's not very fair, actually. So going up against Jeremy's MODOK and Magneto, it's not that MODOK and Magneto had incredibly crazy games or incredible crazy turns. It just, I was playing a regular army against 2 super characters that are game benders, and I wasn't bending the game at all. So it felt like I was behind the 8 ball the whole time, and I just slowly was behind the 8 ball the whole time until I lost. I didn't do myself any favors because I am still really bad at opening turn movement, getting my scenario, scoring pieces, identifying which one of my pieces are scenario scoring, how to get my pieces into scenario scoring position. I'm not figuring it out until turn 2, and when it's too late, and now I just got to beat my opponent to death.
Yeah.
And it was hard to do that when you're, again, I'm playing a fair faction, and my opponent's, not playing a fair faction in terms of combat. And so, me obliging Jeremy's attrition style game, it was only feeding into his win condition. But I wasn't, like I said, it wasn't at the pre-ramble. I said that if somebody told me I had to play Inhumans for a year, that's all you get to play in Marvel Crisis Protocol because you're out of money. This is the only models you get. This is what you get. I wouldn't be furious, but I would just know that for the rest of the year, I'm going to be playing kind of with a handicap. Everybody else can play busted stuff, and I'm going to play fair things. And that's what it felt like.
So you were not impressed with it in Inhumans?
No, I wasn't. To give, if this says anything, as soon as I got done playing, I watched what Jeremy did, and I was like, I want to get some of that. Not MODOK and Magneto, is actually Sabretooth, because I felt like the whole game I needed to kill Magneto and MODOK because killing Sabretooth meant I lost faster. Because Sabretooth was going to gut me as I did it. And there was one model in my list that could manage him, and that was actually Medusa, because she could attack enough and move him around while she was attacking. So that was something I could use to counter his shtick. But it was after the game, I was like, I want to play a faction where that's all my opponent has to deal with, where they're constantly having to look at rocks and hard places, and they have no good options because everything is a bad option to attack. So that's what inspired my next list. And that felt like, oh, this feels like really pretty. This feels like I'm busting the game. This feels like I'm turning the screw, as opposed to Inhumans where I'm going to go try to win with models that are fair. They're fair.
I think we get it. On the topic of Sabretooth versus Medusa, just heads up, I'm going to circle back to this in about 2 minutes.
Oh,
just
okay.
keep that matchup in your mind, listeners. All right, so for my currently playing, I played my first game with Black Order in a while, and I was very happy with how they performed. Jeremy keeps telling me that they're good. I don't believe him. I think they're bad. I think they have good parts. There's not nothing there. Just when you break it down, in my opinion, when you deconstruct Black Order, you say, what do you have? Basically, you have purchased the most expensive thing you can buy, and you've supplemented it with lots of efficient things around it. But the actual Black Order, that's the sum of the parts, but their actual affiliation doesn't really do anything. Like Thanos' affiliation is awful. Killing a player, giving you a control point is okay, I guess. It's not good. You can't even really use it until turn 3. And then even by then, when he gets dazed, he doesn't get that anymore. It totally changes to something else. So, and arguably that ability is even worse. but it's situationally decent. I mean, yeah, I scored a couple points in my game, but the only time I think that your affiliation actually matters is in very, very, very few of your games. And so then we move on to the affiliation cards, which is the other reason that you would want to play an affiliation. And Mothership is cool. It's really solid. Execute is not affiliated, but solid with the characters you play. Price of Failure is okay. Blood Despair is really not good. So yeah, it's basically, is Mothership and Thanos' leadership worth devoting yourself to Black Order and not just playing an unaffiliated list, or like Jeremy's been doing, sneaking Thanos into other lists, or any Black Order characters, really. I don't know. I think that's where the answer is. I don't know that the characters that they mix best with are out yet. Like, that might be coming down the road. Like, just imagine, Parker, down the road we could be playing Thanos and Doom at 20 points. That's your list. It's going to be so good.
Doom's 11 points in this scenario?
Well, I assume he's going to be 8, and then you can spend, like, up to 5 points on Doombots. It's going to be amazing. Or maybe every time, maybe he'll be like Magneto, where he spawns a Doombot every turn. That would make sense. All right, anyway. Back to stuff we were talking about. I don't know. I've been happy with Black Order, but they're not overly impressive. Kind of like Inhumans for Parker. Like, I don't think the answer to the game lies within Black Order. It might lie within the parts of Black Order, but I don't think playing like isolationist Black Order works. And I don't know that because of the stones taking up so many slots, I don't know that you can bring enough people in. I think you're better off just picking what you want. You either want basically Corvus and Proxima, or you want Thanos. Take one of those two packages and leave the rest and mix that into something else. Like, personally, I've liked Corvus and Proxima in X-Men. I think that's worked out really well so far. All right, so moving on. Unless, Jeremy, you want to talk about a list you've been playing? Anything new?
I mean, I think Parker nailed it on what I was playing and kind of how it went. What I will say, Parker, though, you made some good choices. And it was, when we had talked about it before we, turned 0 choices, playing 15 points with the models that I had, which were obviously some beefy guys and not allowing me to actually do what I wanted to do, going, 4 models to my 3. But I tell you, your VIP, Lockjaw. Lockjaw damn near took out my entire army by himself by biting them.
That's true. It
was the most stupid fucking thing ever. So,
yeah.
I mean, seriously, it was so silly. But, yeah, I mean, Inhumans kind of feel that way. It's like, I haven't decided which part I like the best about him. I really do like Medusa, though, and I want to get her in other lists and kind of see what she's capable of. The rest of them, take or leave. I kind of want to see Black Bolt in a faction that can actually produce real power, like Cabal, or even, I don't know, A-Force, or somebody who can produce some power for him just to get for doing things. Even Brotherhood produces tons of power, because he's got tons of things he wants to do, and he's definitely a beater if he can get the power to do it.
Cool. Alrighty.
I will say this about Black Bolt that I thought was cool is very, very easily he got up to, what was it, 7 attack dice? Like, and then on and Incinerate on top of that to just like whoop Magneto. It was like, okay, I have 7 attack dice with a reroll, and you have 1 less defense because Incinerate. Like, it was not tough. 1 bottle attacked Magneto, and Lockjaw did his automatic thing, and then Black Bolt just melted him. So it's not that you can't line things up with Inhumans, and it didn't really cost me anything. It just happened. So there's definitely, like, it's not that they lack anything. It's that they don't do anything. That I was like, oh man, I feel like I'm cheating.
On the topic of Black Bolt, I think he does have a lot of value for like damage dealing, but I think what you'll notice about playing him is he's basically just a blaster. He wants to sit back and do his energy blast. Unless he can randomly afford Whisper, then all the power to him. But you're basically going to play him like MODOK in Cabal. You're going to use your version of Red Skull to place your version of MODOK forward on the table and double shoot people. And then, get any bonuses you can through like your version of Dark Reign, which is Interdimensional Bloodhound. Except in every version of this, MODOK is better than Black Bolt.
Yep.
He's harder to kill than Black Bolt. He does more damage than Black Bolt. He has more utility than Black Bolt. he's better at contesting points than Black Bolt. Like, so now the question is Red Skull better than Lockjaw? And the answer is no, but he's also a point more expensive. So, they're just different. I think I like to see not every release be top of the power charts, because you end up with a lot of power creep that way. And so obviously it's fine if they're not the best faction. And so far they just seem like middle of the pack, which is fine. So moving on to hobby projects. My hobby project is magnets. I don't know if you guys are aware of this, but super glue and magnets and metal do not work well at negative 15 degrees.
Oh, God.
And I've just looked it up for you people in the Celsius regions. That's negative 26 degrees Celsius. So it's cold. So yeah, I had a lot of not a lot, a decent amount of magnets pop off my magnet rack. And so I need to fix those tonight. So that's what I'm doing tonight.
You mean like they were on, like they popped off the bottom of the models? So they're stuck to the magnet rack?
I had I want to say it was 6 or 8 magnets. Mostly they came off of my... so I have these very useful tubs that you can get on Amazon or in Office Depot if yours hasn't closed. And they're perfect size for holding the character cards in top loaders. So it holds all the character cards, and then I have another Plano sorting tray that holds all my acrylic tokens. And so I had 5 of the 8 magnets I lost were on there, but they're much larger magnets because, all the character cards plus all the top loaders plus the big plastic storage case they're in, that weighs 3 pounds. And so 6 magnets hold it onto my magnet rack, and I lost 3 of them. So, well, they're still on the tray. I just need to reattach them to the case.
Okay. Interesting.
That's a lot of weight, a lot of flex, and a lot of shrinkage in the cold.
Yeah, I was going to say, the contraction of all those objects definitely is going to pop them off.
Cool. No hobby projects from you guys?
I know what my hobby project is going to be whenever Iron Fist comes out, but that's...
Oh my God, painting a shirt on him?
Yep.
So, I've got mine humans. I'm about, I don't know, couple sessions from being done with all of them. But, yeah, that's what I got.
Nice. Alrighty, so moving on to our main topic tonight, which is... Oh, wait, no. First, we have From the Forums. Quick little From the Forums episode.
Forums.
Oh.
Forums.
We only do that on the news.
Oh. Jermager does it on everything.
Okay. Jermager
does it.
Alright. So, first question of the day, we have, could Medusa use royal decree to place herself next to a dazed character? The answer is no, because dazed characters cannot be interacted with using special rules. So, no, you cannot. Even though she's choosing a character and the character isn't doing anything, you cannot elect them as the target or interact with them in any way using a superpower. So, no, you cannot. And then while we're on the... actually, I think we have one more. Where's the best? Here we go. We'll do it on this step. All right. So that was the first one. That was a pretty easy one, but it's just good that everyone knows that all the stuff like that, just like Storm's leadership ability, you can't place next to a dazed person. They're basically invisible for rules. All right, next one, we have the Reality Stone question. Can you change skulls that are used... that the Reality Gem has used to make them count as criticals? The answer is basically a paragraph explaining how the Reality Stone works, and then the rules moderator says, does this answer your question? So, the Reality Gem allows a character using it to treat... Sorry, I'm going to interrupt myself. I know we've talked about this on the podcast and multiple times in the store, so this is exactly the ruling we wanted to know. And so, when using the Reality Gem, the character is allowed to treat one failure as a critical at all times when making one of the specific dice rolls. If a failure in a initial roll is if a die in the initial roll is a failure, it may immediately become a critical. Thus, will add an additional die to the roll for being a critical. If a die re-rolls in the future into a failure, it will immediately become a critical and be counted as success. But you will not add the additional die because you've already passed that step. Criticals can be re-rolled, and so if the Reality Stone is allowing you to treat a die as a critical, thus it can be re-rolled. If you re-roll a failure that is being counted as a critical into another result, and another die is rolled as a failure, it will then be counted as a critical. So basically, always one of your dice that is a failure is now a critical.
Hooray!
Does that make sense? I know I stuttered a couple times in there. All right, so
Yay.
we're good there. All right, should we save this one for last? Yeah, we'll save that one for last. So next, moving on, we have basically timing interaction with during activation abilities, which I know we brought this up multiple times at the start. I don't think we've ever talked about it on the podcast. When attacking an enemy character, if my opponent plays the card Lethal Protector, to have Venom take the hit. So Venom gets placed near the character that was targeted, and Venom is the new target of the attack. Can I play Disarm before the attack is resolved to allow my attack to affect him with the Disarm? The answer is no. Disarm is an active card and can only be played when no other effects are being resolved. When Lethal Protector is played, there is already an attack being resolved, and so Disarm cannot be played. I think this is a good point to be made. I think this is pretty obvious if you understand how the rules actually work and not just like an understanding of how to play. If you've read the rule book a couple times, you've probably noticed something like this is going to stop you from doing things like that. The thing that I think a lot of people mess up, and I think this is kind of covered in the same spot, is picking up an objective. I see a lot of people do like Steel Rush with Zemo. They'll attack someone, kill them, or daze them. They'll drop their extract token they're holding. Zemo will spend a power to pick it up and then advance away with Steel Rush. And it's like, I don't think there's actually ever an opportunity in there to do that, because at no point were you not resolving the attack. You were always doing something as part of the attack. Because as soon as the attack is over, you get your medium advance. And so you either advance medium or you don't, and then pick up the point, because both of them are basically active triggers. You do it when you're not doing something else. And if you were able to interrupt an action to pick up an objective, you could move over an objective and pick it up as you're, like, air quotes, passing by it. And obviously you can't do that. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
You guys disagree?
No. But you could still gain, like in that particular situation, you could still gain range from somebody if you're trying to move away from them.
Sure, yeah, you could move to like max range 1 of the objective and then pick it up. But I've seen a lot of people, or another good example is Deathblow from Corvusclave. It's like I run up, boom, I hit you, I trigger Flurry, I get an extra move. Oh, you're dazed, you drop this token, I'll pick it up. It's a worthy token. Now I advance over here and my flurry attack goes off. You're like, no. Like, you don't get to pick that up. You need to stay within range of it if you're going to actually try and pick it up.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So next one we have, let's see. This is kind of a long-winded one. Okay. This one says I don't agree with how they word this question very well, but basically the question is, if two abilities on opposing characters say, if an amount of damage would be dealt, and they both say what to do, whose takes precedence? And the answer that they give is kind of misleading, because they say the attacker's effects always happen first. And so in this situation, the guy brings up, Shuri attacks Thanos and does 1 damage. Then Thanos' ability triggers, reducing the damage to 0, and then the Panther Gauntlets could trigger and then change the damage back to 1 after it's been reduced to 0. But it gets clarified here, if Panther Gauntlets reduces damage to 1, then being a measurable power will reduce it to 0. And he says this will be clarified in the future in an update. So this will probably be in the FAQ or in errata in some way. But specifically saying that effectively Shuri could only ever deal damage to Thanos if she did 2 more hits than his blocks. If that makes sense. So she would have to do 2 damage after dice, but before damage reduction to actually do any damage. Because if she did 2 hits and he rolls 1 block, the damage being applied would be 1. Being of a measurable or power reduces it to 0.
Huh. So Thanos is nearly immune to Shuri's damage.
Well, I mean, he's not immune, but it is very hard for it to happen.
Huh.
Because if you think about it, it's the logical way to resolve it, right? Because if you said, all right, well, I'm coming in with 5, and you block 2, so we're doing 3, then damage reduction happens, it goes down to 2, then Panther Gauntlets happens, it goes down to 1, right? Like, that's the logical way to do it. Even though it'd actually be the opposite. Oh, no, I'm sorry. I read this. I said this wrong. It will always be 0. Yeah, he is immune to the damage from Panther Gauntlets.
Oh.
Because the attacker's abilities go first.
Oh.
Yeah, he will never take damage from Panther Gauntlets or any other attack that says reduce damage to 1.
Well, there you go.
Yep.
Thanos OP.
Yeah, I'm sorry I misread that and I made that a little confusing. Yeah, so he will never take damage from Panther Gauntlets.
Well, I know I'm dropping in every list now because Shuri's so popular. It's awesome.
Yeah, hard counter.
Hard counter.
We just put this 9 points in to hard counter the 3-point model.
Oh, no. Naked Thanos, because that's all you need to beat Shuri. You just send...
Except that you still get pushed away.
But is it really, do you get pushed away? Really?
All right, now the fun one that we've been waiting for this whole time. All right, in this situation, Valkyrie attacks Venom, triggering Flurry. Venom wants to trigger So Many Snacks, but the Flurry ability has been triggered. What happens first? Does he get to use So Many Snacks, or does Flurry make her does Valkyrie make her Flurry attack? I'm so tongue-tied today. We've covered this briefly in the past. Obviously, anyone who knows the timing chart, 14A is the attacker resolves effects that happen after the attacker is resolved, and step 14B is defender resolves effects that happen after the attacker is resolved. So Flurry will always happen first, but So Many Snacks still has the trigger happen, but something that's kind of clarified here is the rules mod says that he will have the opportunity to spend the power after Flurry is resolved. So it's basically clarifying that the trigger happens, but you don't actually spend the power until you activate the ability. And so you would get to wait and see what happens on when you want a So Many Snacks. Which isn't particularly relevant on So Many Snacks, because once it's triggered, it's probably going to happen. But if you see that they don't actually hurt you, then you're like, oh, whatever, I'm not going to do it because I didn't get hurt off either attack. But in the case that you had an ability that can trigger multiple times, like Counter-Strike, I would imagine, you could then trigger it multiple times, and if the second attack is the one that does damage, and it does 4, well, then you have power to do both of them. So that's an interesting interaction. But bringing this up, specifically Medusa and Sabretooth, so let's say Medusa attacks Sabretooth. She triggers Flurry and a push, and because she does damage, right? So now the Flurry goes off, and then so you hit him again for damage, and so you get the push. So the order of operation here is attack is resolved, push is resolved, push is resolved. Then Sabretooth activates aggressive, advances short, and then does Untamed Force and does an attack afterwards. So you have 7 things happening off of one action. Just off 2 characters interacting with each other. And no tactics cards. That's just 2 characters. Oh boy, fun times.
So
now just imagine if another Venom was nearby and Lethal protected the Savage Predator attack or the Untamed Force attack from Sabretooth, thus triggering So Many Snacks, which would then trigger aggressive again. Oh boy, it's fun.
Well, meanwhile, Ghost Rider and Ronan are standing there. And then the game locks
over.
up. The game entirely locks up. A small singularity opens.
Yeah. Yep. I was about to say, the singularity opens.
You get a text message on your phone. It's like, sorry, your Marvel Crisis Protocol game has crashed. You're like, what? I'm playing in real life.
Yep.
It reminds me of the old Mark I rules errata for what would happen if the Bay Knight attacked a Legionnaire.
Oh gosh. Yeah, but the Mark I rules errata.
Follow this 14-step process.
Do you guys remember the triangle of power? How if you targeted somebody in the back, if a certain amount of their base was obstructed, it would go to the one in the front, and the one in the front, and the one in the front.
Yeah, if there was an intervening model in your line of sight to the enemy, they would get a bonus to their defense for every guy in between. And so, like logical combatants and generals, you would form triangles with your units and just run in triangles at each other.
Yep.
So they would have to attack the guy in the front, or else you were basically invulnerable.
I don't know if you guys understood this, but I've heard the special operations units, like the Army Rangers and Navy SEALs, always operate in
They line
triangles,
up in tight triangles.
In very,
and
very tight
run
triangles.
into each other in wedge formations.
You'd be amazed how enemy combatants just can't deal with it.
Well, the funny thing is, if you actually look back far enough in war, that's actually what they did, which is terrifying. Yeah. There was one other interaction that happened at Adepticon, I want to say like 3 years ago. And it was, there's a Warcaster, long story short, there's basically two armies where they take nothing but Warjacks and Warbeasts. And on one side, the Warjacks have an ability called Countercharge, which is if an enemy ends a move within 6 of them, they get to immediately interrupt the turn and charge them. They move like 9 inches forward and attack the thing. The other army is a bunch of Warbeasts that says you get a defense bonus, and every time you're missed by an attack, you get to move 3 inches. And so
Jesus.
Both, and I can't remember, it was what's the new chick? Fayana? I think it was Fayana from Legion of Everblight, and it was Axis from Convergence of Cirrus. And so basically it's just each army has 12 big guys, and then one side has countercharge and super aggression, and the other one has high defense and evasiveness. And so basically one Warjack charges in, misses the Warbeast, it advances out of his melee range so he can't take the rest of his attacks, thus triggering countercharge on 4 Warjacks. All 4 of them then charge it, and the first one misses. And so it moves again, triggering countercharge on 3 more Warjacks. And then this basically continues for about, I think it was like an hour and 10 minutes they resolved this combat. And at which point they got to the end of the night, whose turn is it? They literally could not remember whose turn it was because they had been doing this for 45 minutes of the 2-hour chess clock, and they had to call a judge because they could not remember whose turn it was
because they had both been interrupting each other's turns so often.
Yeah, because it had been effectively because normally War Machine is I do my stuff, you shut up and roll dice. Like when I attack your guys, you see if they die or not, and that's about all you get to do. And so it was just back. It was 3 seconds on my turn, 3 seconds on your turn, 3 seconds on, and for 45 minutes it's back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Because all of the countercharges don't cost your activation. And so in addition to that, all the countercharges, so getting the free move on everybody, you also got to activate them. And so eventually it gets to the point where you're starting to box people in so they can't move. And remembering who's activated and who hasn't. It was just a nightmare. I was watching the gameplay, I'm just like, this is just a mess. Don't ever play this. It was a terrible matchup. Trick question. You both lose because you can't remember whose turn it is.
Yeah.
All right. So that was fun. Oh, reliving the old fun days and talking about bad rules. Okay, so main topic today, we're going to rate some tactics cards. We haven't done this before, but we've been looking forward to it a bit, or at least I have. I don't know if you guys have.
I'm pumped.
So we're going to rate some tactics cards. We're going to start with affiliated cards. We're going to see how many we get through. We're not going to take all night, but we're basically just going to talk about them, pros and cons, and we're going to give them a 1 to 10 rating. So starting in the logical order, we're going to do alphabetically by affiliation. And so we have A-Force cards. There's 3 of them. We're going to start with A-Force Assemble.
A-Force Assemble.
So,
are you going to read these? Or what are you going to do with this? How are you going to do these?
Yeah, just a second. I'm pulling it up. Calm down. I'm pulling it up.
Do you want to do like a normal rating?
I'm getting messages and stuff's happening. Hold on a second.
I was going to say, if we want to do it like regular reading, I can paraphrase what it is real fast for listeners.
Okay. It's not an emergency. All right. So A-Force Assemble is A-Force character can spend 3 power to play this card.
Brandon, do we want to do like normal rating where I'll read it and then you can start?
Oh, sure. Yeah, you can read it, I guess, since you're so greedy with the word time. Just read it.
Okay. So
I don't trust you to read the English words very well.
Okay. So A-Force Assemble is an active card. Any A-Force character can spend 3 power to play it. And when an allied character is defending against an attack this round, you add 1 die to the defense roll for each other A-Force character within 2. So basically, they get tougher to kill if they have friends nearby.
Yeah. I actually love this card. I've played A-Force in, I think, 4 games now. It's a great card. It works really well specifically with She-Hulk. Problem being is that it kind of forces you into the game plan that you're already forced into with She-Hulk. And so they're really bad about getting outside of their box. You basically end up going, hey, I'm going to take as many really strong characters that can't stand up to a fight and then putting She-Hulk next to them and seeing how long they live. And then because your whole army is in this tiny space, like as soon as She-Hulk dies, like the game just ends.
So this makes the card worse because it perpetuates a bad play?
This card is, I think, the only reason that strategy actually works. It's a really good card. If this card was in Avengers, oh my god.
Oh, it'd be dumb.
Like, yeah, the card is amazing. Mm-hmm. Jeremy, do you remember when I played it? I don't even know if I actually played it in my game against you.
You did. You had one A-Force member near you, and the others weren't.
Yeah, it was...
So is this a turn 2 card, basically?
I mean, it depends on the setup, but yeah, vast majority of the time it's gonna be turn 2. You're gonna form your super brick. You're gonna get in position to kill everybody. You're gonna play this, and She-Hulk's gonna have 6 defense dice, basically.
Yeah,
and infinite bodyguards.
So for a faction like A-Force, which has a model that you basically, it takes a lot of work to kill anyway. And then you're compounding that with a card like this. It's pretty ideal. I mean, this is the exact card you want, right?
Yeah, it's great. It has a little bit of a psychological warfare element, is when they're looking at a 6 defense die, 20 health character that probably has healing standing somewhere in your list. It's pretty scary. So they might just try and back off and wait you out, which unfortunately against this list actually works, because the list, the faction isn't particularly mobile, but they also don't spread out, so they can't really punish you for not engaging. The weird part is you basically have to force the engage on them and then play this card. And against most opponents, honestly, it will work because they're so used to just playing beat 'em up in the middle. But if they're like playing Web Warriors and they're being smart about it, I don't think it'll work.
When you say not mobile, I'm not sure what you mean. She-Hulk isn't mobile except for her one turn, but everybody else is, I mean, you've got some of the most mobile models in the game, right? You've got Angela, you've got Valkyrie.
Angela is mobile.
I mean,
Valkyrie,
you have some.
She's kind of mobile, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, she's got charge it. So, and She-Hulk has a drop off. I mean, you're pretty fucking mobile.
The problem is that if you look down the list of A-Force, there's a lot of characters that are really punished if they have to move. And maybe it's just the characters I've been playing. It's entirely possible. Like I said, it's only been 4 games. It's entirely possible the problem is with my list building. But I like playing like Captain Marvel. I like playing like Valkyrie. Valkyrie and Angela are really your only 2 semi-mobile models. And honestly, even Angela doesn't want to spend a move action. Like, sure, she can move around a lot, but she needs to be close first. Like, she needs to be within attack range before she attacks. Yeah, and so that's fine, but like, and this card is obviously very good. I'm not saying that's the problem. It's just that when your strategy is synergized around, let me put 15 points of models in this 3-inch space, like, yeah, that's probably not going to work too great. If you get this on Gamma Wave, yeah, you probably just win.
So, we probably need to introduce some sort of baseline, and we talked about that on what our ratings are. So we were saying basically a 1 would be a Heave-Ho, or that
Heave-Ho level card, yeah.
That crappy attack card that no one uses. That's like the
Thunderwave.
Thunderwave.
The card that makes Repulsor Blast look good.
So that's a 1, right? And then the most of the restricted cards would obviously be your high tier, like 8, 9, not even. I don't know if a 10 exists. We kind of talked about that, but those are your.
If a 10 exists, it's field dressing, and the fact that we think it needs to be nerfed, it probably means it should be a 10.
Okay, so there's your baseline. So where does that land point wise? We need to throw a number out here somewhere.
All right, I've played it, so I will say it's probably a 7 for me. The fact that it's A-Force restricted is the only reason it's not seeing play in like the meta as a whole. But it is fairly restrictive. It's very positioning oriented, and outside of characters that have bodyguard and characters that are resistant to being moved, it loses some of its potency. So obviously it's best with She-Hulk, and since it's A-Force only, it kind of lends itself to that already. If it was like range 3 instead of range 2, this card would be a 9. Like, this card would be insane. Also, defense dice aren't the best thing in the game, but some characters are really good with extra defense dice, like Black Widow.
For sure. I mean, I don't play
I agree
A-Force,
with it.
but I agree with the 7. 7 feels right. It's better than average. It's a great card for them. It's kind of expensive, but they have ways to get power, and I mean, it does the job it's supposed to do.
As playing A-Force, the power is not an issue. Yeah, they get a shitload of power. They make Cabal look like they don't get power.
Really?
Yeah, it's nuts.
I
was, just real quick, I was easily fueling Captain Marvel and doing other stuff. Like, it's so much power. Go ahead, Parker.
I really like a high assessment of A-Force because I feel like A-Force symbol is a really good example of, like you said before, a tactics card that the faction wants. We're going to talk about some cards here, in this segment where it's just like this random effect that doesn't seem to have anything to do with the faction. It's not flavorful, it's not interesting, it's not useful in combination with any of the characters. It's just a card that happens to have a faction on it. This is the opposite of that. This is if you're like, okay, I have a cool idea for this kind of card that gives somebody benefit for friendlies around themselves. What faction should it go in to see play and feel good? You're like, well, A-Force, because you're running a bodyguard character and you're running other cards that make it difficult to move. It's a really effective combination. Really effective. I like it.
Yep. So what do you guys think for numbers then? I already said 7.
I would actually say, in terms of, I wish there was like some sort of curve for faction affiliation because it works so well for its faction. But because as strength of just a card based on its strength, I don't think it can go to an 8. So I will say a 7 is its ceiling. I would agree.
Yeah, I was expecting you guys to try and talk me down. Jeremy?
So I'll be the negative Nancy on it. I'll say a 6 because it doesn't get you a point. Like, it doesn't score points. It doesn't move models. It doesn't, prevent people from scoring points aside from contesting. So, I mean, it has an effect. It's there. And it also, it gives you more of the worst dice in the game. Like, defense dice are the worst sides of the dice. So a couple extra dice. I mean, we've all played the game where we throw, 4 or 5 defense dice and get 0. So,
or 8.
Sometimes it can do nothing, which sucks.
I've thrown 8 and got 0 multiple times. I've been very upset.
I'll be negative and say 6, but you both said 7, so 7. It's fine.
Okay.
I can live with that.
Okay, so next one up is going to be Special Delivery.
So
Parker, go.
Special Delivery is a She-Hulk. It's an A-Force only card, but She-Hulk is the only character that can be the one that's delivered. Basically, she can spend 1 power, and a friendly can also spend 1 power. If that friendly with flight began their move action within 2 of She-Hulk when they both spend that power and the card, then after the active player ends the move, their single move, She-Hulk can be placed within 1 of that character. It's very, very similar to Drop Off, only it's restricted to exactly She-Hulk and a character with flight.
It does remove the size restriction that Drop Off had, though.
Yes, because it's only She-Hulk.
And nobody would be able to drop She-Hulk off.
On top of that, She-Hulk does immediately perform one of her attacks that has a listed cost of 0, which, by the way, is one of the most premium attacks in the game with 7 dice. So the fact that she gets to do a 7-die attack is not nothing.
I have to say that I was super pumped to play this card when I started playing A-Force. I've taken it out of my roster. It is terrible.
Okay, now do tell. How?
Okay. So the number of characters that have flight that you want to play in A-Force are basically Angela and Captain Marvel. Because if you play Wasp just to play Special Delivery, you shouldn't play Special Delivery, in my opinion. You should just play a character that isn't bad.
Crystal isn't good enough?
Crystal, it wasn't out when I played it.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, again, Crystal is decent, but I don't know that she's what you want in A-Force. Now, that being said, if you're including the value of Special Delivery into her cost, she's certainly a lot more appealing. But the whole point of A-Force is you have any number of people to choose from to add to your list. And so why wouldn't you? And a bunch of the female characters are 3-pointers. So you have a huge selection of 3-point efficient models to make up for the fact that your leader costs 6. And so I thought that's what I would want. I was just like, here's 6-point leader, bunch of 3-pointers, fill the rest, let's go. But like Captain Marvel and Angela both absolutely hate taking move actions. It is the worst. Because it's not when advancing, it's specifically a move action. So you can't do it as part of her pursuit on her gun that Angela has. She has to actually spend an action to move. It's the worst. Now, admittedly, yeah, you get to replace her move action with a She-Hulk attack. But I mean, it just... moving She-Hulk away from all my squishy characters just seems like a bad idea anyway. Like, if you think about it in practicality, like, when do you play this card? Like, you have your bundle of guys for A-Force Assemble, and then you have Special Delivery. It's like, so do you play Special Delivery on turn 3 after the bubble is already destroyed? Because if you do, then they just never attack She-Hulk again. They just attack all the other characters that She-Hulk's supposed to be protecting.
I don't know I think that you're playing She-Hulk as the everything in the list, and I think that there could be like other ways to play this. She-Hulk can protect things. She could protect a buddy who runs around with her. That's fine. And then the other wad gets the A-Force Assemble card. I just can't imagine this card being bad. It's a first turn card. It just comes out there. Oh my God, there's a She-Hulk in the middle of the table. She plays maybe plays Hired Muscle on your ass and just drags the entire game at her. Like, then how do you deal with that? She can even back up after doing that. Like, there's all kinds of things she can do in my mind, and maybe I'm wrong.
I feel like this. I feel like this card also. I actually agree with you, Jeremy. I do not know who was going to play this card in A-Force until Crystal, because I don't like it for Captain Marvel because the medium loses a lot of value and you're paying 4 points for her. I don't like it for Angela because Angela wants to be out running and gunning and doing her flippy dippy stuff. She doesn't want to spend a move action, and she doesn't want to hang out next to She-Hulk after she does it, right? She wants to be out doing things. So I like, but enter Crystal, a 3-point model.
Crystal doesn't particularly want to be up in everybody's face necessarily.
But if once she gets close to people and you can't remove all those negative effects, she can also play her personal card that when anybody takes damage, they're getting negative effects that again they can't remove as long as Crystal's there. She is a fine control card. She's a fine control piece that does a lot of negative effects to their army, and then also is plinking away damage. I think she's a really good partner for She-Hulk, because She-Hulk can just do big chunks of damage, and if they try to devote a lot of energy to removing Crystal, She-Hulk can probably blunt or just take all that blow. I really like Special Delivery keeping her and Crystal together, because Crystal does move once or twice and then stand put probably near the middle of the fight for the rest of the game, being really obnoxious for your opponent to deal with. I think I do agree. I feel like Special Delivery should say on it when a Crystal character with flight begins a move action within 2 of She-Hulk. That's what it should say, because I think that's the character that's really made for this. I don't think it's any A-Force character. I believe that. But I think if you wanted to play Special Delivery and you had Crystal, I think it's going to be a lot more valuable, because I think it plays to both of their strengths more than any other A-Force character might.
I was never good with drop-off anyway, so again, it seems that a banned card that's been reprinted should still be pretty good. But
there's too many restrictions on it is my problem. I obviously the mechanic is good. Giving a premium character an attack and placing them is obviously very good. But you're doing it by spending an action with a character that probably wouldn't need to make that action if it wasn't for this card. And then also you're spending 2 power and a roster slot on the card. I just think it takes a lot of the effectiveness away. Drop off being able to be place anybody was a big deal, because it was you can pick and choose and make it into your list. Obviously, again, A-Force card requiring She-Hulk isn't a problem because she's already in the list. Yeah, I don't know. It's just, I mean, obviously it's not a bad card. It's very frustrating to be in a situation when you're like, well, I have to keep She-Hulk within 2 of this person for bodyguard reasons. And so I'm going to run up and place them, but now I'm like separating my list from different places. Yeah, if you've got one flyer that's just following her around doing that, but like if you're saying you're doing Crystal, why are you taking Crystal? Is it just because she's a flyer? Like, she doesn't really help She-Hulk.
I mean, she debuffs the entire list. She debuffs your opponent. She's going to drop. She's going to drop defense.
She can debuff your opponent.
I was going to say she's going to drop their defense. Like she's likely going to drop their defense if you roll. I mean, I guess you say can. Can is right.
Yeah.
Unless you bring your card right, and then you just have to do damage, and then she's definitely debuffing your opponent.
Sure. So now we're using 2 tactics cards to get She-Hulk to get 1 attack against a debuffed enemy. Oh no, they're not even debuffed yet because she actually attacks before Crystal does. So the attack is happening before the debuff, and then they go.
Mm-hmm. I will say that I don't think we haven't got to the part where we rate it. I still don't know if this delivers high. Let me put it this way.
I'm just saying that a lot of people, I think, assumed this was going to be on par with the original drop-off, which is probably an 8 or a 9 card. I don't think this is that high. It has a lot of problems with this, what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, I agree with you. In the same way that, a neutral faction card in a card game is so much stronger with a crazy effect, right, than a single faction card. It's just because you have so many more restrictions in the game, and that's the reason why they printed it for just one faction. I suppose your statement earlier that you don't play it even in A-Force right now, and you were struggling to see a point in playing it, and I'm putting words in your mouth a little bit, I know, but you took it out of your list. I think it's totally reasonable. The only reason
3 games in a row, I literally couldn't get a time to play it.
Right.
Like I was looking to play it, and I just couldn't get it to happen. Three games in a row. And it was very frustrating. And obviously, adding a character that does nothing but make it more effective is better for the card, but I don't think that's what your roster ends up being. Because don't forget, you have a 6-point character in your list. You can't just throw in a character to play a card.
Right.
Like, you need everyone to do work.
Yeah.
All right. I think we've pretty much beaten this to death. I'm ready to rate numbers. Are you guys good? Do you have any more stuff you want to say about it? All right. I'm giving it a 6.
I have not played it, so I have to go by what I've seen and what I imagine. I think, let's go with a 7.
I was going to go with a 4, because I think it's a 2-character card that may not actually happen. That's a 4.
Okay. We've never had to do this before. Hold on.
Rock, paper, scissors.
It's a good sign that we, no. 4 plus 6 plus 7 is 17, divided by 3 is a 5.6. Guess what, guys?
Oh,
that's a 6.
Okay.
It's fine.
All right. I think that's actually pretty fair. I think actually like 5.5 is kind of where I was actually sitting. As far as your 7, Jeremy, I would just respond with, it is objectively worse than Drop Off. So therefore it's... I don't know that I would rate Drop Off a 9. It was probably an 8, but noticeably worse than Drop Off is pretty worse.
I think
it's obviously a good card. It has value. It has a lot of value.
Yeah.
It's just I don't think it makes your 8, or at least your 5. It probably makes your 8.
It's very mission dependent, crisis dependent, or whatever.
Because remember, we're playing field dressing and either med pack or patch up. Probably patch up with She-Hulk in the list and all the power you get. Then we're also playing A-Force Assemble. And then if you're playing like a movement card in it instead of this, like you're already 3 cards in before we even look at special delivery. Not to mention that you have to consider Grievous Wounds, you have to consider Recalibration Matrix. Like there's a lot of really good cards that get looked at before this one does.
Depending on what you're doing, I still question A-Force Assemble a little bit. I mean, it's a defensive thing, and you're putting a lot of eggs in baskets for She-Hulk to take all the brunt of it with 6 dice of defending. I mean, it's its own thing. Like, it's fine.
Yeah. The problem you run into is because She-Hulk isn't innately mobile, is they will literally just ignore She-Hulk and walk away from her, and then when She-Hulk's attacking once a round, she doesn't do anything.
Oh, I agree to that. Absolutely.
You have to force them to attack her, and the only way to do that is by bodyguarding the hits. And to do that, you obviously have to bunch up. So if you get to bunch up and then also get extra defense for it, that's all the better.
Sure.
I will say when you get to building that little brick, it's actually very nice because having a size 3 model on a medium base that has aggressive is really hard to move. Like to where she's not going to be useful still. Like it's really annoying. All right, moving on. We have Stalwart Determination. Parker, hit us with some knowledge.
So, it is a A-Force reactive card. During the power phase, any number of A-Force characters can spend 1 to play the card. Characters that spent a power cannot be pushed or thrown by enemy effects for the entire round.
That goddamn card. That card.
Yeah, right? I was so excited when I got this one on the table, and then I realized MODOK advances you, not pushes you, and I was so sad. I was like, I did it! And I was like, because in my head it was can't be moved, and then I was like, oh. And then I played it, and I was like, oh, it really doesn't matter because of how She-Hulk works. And again, this is kind of like special delivery, but this card still has a lot of value because of how important it is to keep yourself in that tight bubble. That this card still has value, I think.
So many.
And again, if any of these three cards did not say A-Force on them, they'd be amazing. Like the fact that they're A-Force only, like brings them down so hard. But it's because they're such a like motley crew, right? They're just a thrown together collection of characters that you're like, oh, I could use this in so many places because you're trying to unite such a wide like functionality base of characters that all these are just giant, wide sweeping good things. You really want to play them elsewhere.
This one is a cheap card. It does all the things that you have wanted things to do forever. The easiest thing to do to score points is to push someone off points or throw them off points, and then you score the points. This card just says no. The fact
that you can use this card against Wakanda and Web Warriors is just like, oh my god. Like, this will be in your 8 every time you play A-Force, because there's 2 matchups you basically just win with this card. Or at least you win a round. Like, between turn 1 and turn 2, you play this on turn 2, you'll have such a noticeable scenario advantage that you should be able to push that into a victory, or at least a stalemate.
And that's actually what's really important, I think. Star Wars Determination takes the 2 primary scenario-based factions right now, and it says you don't get the thing you need, which is the 1 turn of complete control. Like, you don't get it. I get this turn to do what I want. You have to come to me and fight me, and I can do better than you can. The majority of time, unless you just give your opponent free things.
The fact that Shuri is in faction makes this so much more insulting.
Yes,
because it's like I get to push you, but you can't push me.
Yep,
so dumb.
I'm ready to rate it. What do you think, Brandon?
I mean, the efficacy of this card, it only stops 2 very specific things, but man, stopping those things is real good. I want to say an 8, but that feels like a reach. I'd be happy with a 7, but I honestly, I'd probably say an 8. There's just so many factions that wish they had this card in exactly the wording it has.
Jeremy, what do you think?
That card's an 8. It's better than the other cards. I mean, and we've already rated 7s, so I have no problem making this an 8. It does exactly what we were hoping it would do. We were hoping for this card for a very long time.
Yeah.
It's an 8.
Parker?
Before you guys said anything, I said 8. Easily.
Okay.
An 8.
8 it is. All right, that was an easy one. Moving on.
Mm-hmm.
Asgard. Odin's Blessing.
All right. So Odin's Blessing. As a reactive card, when an allied Asgardian character would be damaged by an enemy effect, they can spend 3 to reduce that damage down to only 1. Anybody in Asgard can do it. Brandon, you played a lot of Asgard.
I will say that this card is way better than when you misread it to say buy 1.
Yeah.
2-1 is way better.
I remember
we played this card as buy 1 for a month.
I was going to say, I think I was there the day.
Yeah, everyone just misread it. Yeah. And we were like, what?
I think I was there the day that we checked it and went, oh, 2-1. Oh.
And they were like, in every list.
Yeah.
Like, you're not even playing Asgardians. Like, I could! like it's in every list. The game needs more cards like this. Not this card, but similar to it and worse. Because this is exactly what we want to fix dice spikes. Like, we need these cards. Even if the card said reduce damage dealt by 2 to a minimum of 1, like, I take that. Like, it's... Oh my god. The only downside to this card and cards like it is that there are games that happen where you just get nickel and dime to death, and there's nothing you can do about it. And there's also a lot of characters that don't have big enough health pools to take advantage of it. But that being said, oh man, it's the brass balls you can play with when you have this card on the table, and you're just like, whatever, I'm going in, and you're like, ugh, like, because even if they should kill you with 2 attacks, the fact that you could reduce the one that spikes high to 1, just, it's so hard to kill somebody when they have this available. It's almost impossible. It's so annoying, especially on a character like Thor or Hela or Angela that have a big health pool on one side. It's just so infuriating. All right, that's me. I'm done.
I was gonna say, I think it's this is another good example of like at first you're like, oh, this would be good in any faction, but then you think about Asgard, you're like, oh, this is really good for that faction. It costs 3, but its Guardians should have 3. Yeah. They don't have any dice manipulation, so they're super vulnerable to dice spikes. Like, they're never going to be able to fix their dice and get really good rolls unless you just get super lucky. And they also can conversely just get super unlucky. Your opponent can do 4 damage, which is above average roll, and then you just blank out, and then you're just screwed. You just take 4. You're like, nope, I'll take 3. I'll pretend that I have the ability to re-roll a bunch of times, and I'm only going to take 1 damage and roll 3 defense when I actually didn't. So
it's actually even better than that, because they have the innate healing with the faction ability, and some of the characters actually remove damage in other ways.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you can stack that on top of the fact that they have high defense dice, so they have consistently good defense across the board pretty much.
That's true.
Then they also remove damage over time. And so the only way you can really take them out is by that random spike. And now they have insurance against that. And so it just makes them so resilient. Like, this card, I think, is the only reason Asgard works as a faction. Like, if not, they would be too fragile.
Mm-hmm. And I really like that. Even though it looks generic at first, and then you realize, wait a minute, for Asgard, it fixes their Achilles heel. So I like it a lot. Yeah. What do you think, Jeremy?
I hate to think that all factions are going to get a card like this, because, I mean, we already see another one go into the dudes with healing factors.
Unaffiliated.
Yeah. But, regardless, it adds another card that's been basically restricted, which are healing cards. So you get that plus healing cards plus faction. It works great. It's a super card. I mean, it's really good. You guys have already said what you need to say.
I am considering now playing Sabretooth and Wolverine in Asgard so that I can double down on the DR1 cards. And then also they have passive healing that you can double stack the Asgard affiliation bonus. I'm going to try that now. I'm going to build that list.
There's nothing wrong with that. That'd be really tough.
Yeah. Yeah. And then you just play the Asgard strategy of I'll just slowly take over the board and not die.
Just some never dies.
Cool. I think we're ready for numbers. I'm giving this an 8.
Go ahead, Jeremy.
This card changes games.
Absolutely. I give it an 8 as well.
I was actually going to give it a solid 7, and I'm not going to vary from that. And that's just because of what you said earlier. You can be nickeled and dimed. It cannot get played.
Having this card in your pocket feels like a 7. Looking at it from across the table feels like an 8. It's so debilitating to know, especially when you're having one of those games where you're just barely riding below average on your damage rolls, and you're just like, I'm only hitting him for 1 each time, and then you finally do like 4, and it's like, nah, it's still 1, and you're like, I hate you, like, you're a jerk, like, it's so bad.
It's brutal.
All right, so we're rounding up to an 8 with the outvoting. Next up is the Bridge of Rainbows.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, Jesus, 10.
I love this card. So Rainbow Bridge. Any number of allied Asgard characters can immediately spend 3 to play this card as an active player, and then any characters that spent that 3 are immediately placed within 3 of their current location. So only Asgardians can do it in the Asgardian faction.
Side note. Most of the place cards say unless you have an objective token. This one does not say that. Just pointing that out.
Can let me just say I have no idea why this card was even. I have no idea. This is way too powerful. This needs to be on our probably gonna be banned. Like, it's way too good. No, it's not fine. No fine.
Have you guys ever played StarCraft 2?
Yes.
You ever been just sitting there in your base and just a whole army of stalkers blinks over a wall and you're like, ah! Like, that's this card.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, what? Your guys just teleport random distances? That seems unfair. Yep. She's like, as they kill you.
Mm-hmm. Well, I said my opinion. Go for it, man. I think it's way overpowered.
I don't know if I would say this card is broken.
Oh, Jesus.
It is good. Costing 3 is not nothing. I've played Asgard. They get a lot of power, but man, their stuff costs a lot too. Obviously, positioning is the most important thing in the game. If anybody's ever played a very precise game before, like War Machine or Guild Ball, changing the positioning of models is the most powerful thing you can do to the game, short of removing them from the table entirely. And that usually is placed behind this random chance wall that you can't penetrate. And so until they just say pay power, remove model, this is strong. But I don't know that it's like broken level strong. It's really good.
Yeah, my input is it seems fantastic, and so you're like, I can move 3 of my characters, and you're like, yeah, but that also costs 9 power on the board. That is a lot of like power across the game. And I get that you could do it, but if I was getting ready to play Rainbow Bridge, I would really, really, really like to see that all 3 of those power really meant something. And if it did, fantastic. But
my biggest problem with the card is that they all have to move at the same time.
Yeah.
And so if you're like, surprise, here I come, it's like, well, only one of them's actually going to go. And so then all the other guys have this. My same problem with tactical analysis. You have to move into position before you do anything. So it's really more of an escape card. And so this one can be kind of double use because you can escape with 1, maybe 2 people, and then play super aggressively with a third. That would be good.
I think this card gets played when you play it, but I actually think more often than not it's moving like 2 characters. I don't think it's like your whole army that gets moved by this.
I will say though, placing within 3 is real good. That's way better than placing within 2.
Yeah.
I mean, you played at the end of your turn, and all your guys who went and played and did whatever the fuck they wanted just goes back. Like, and we're back on the point. Like, that's crazy. That's crazy. Avengers Assemble, like, it's better than that.
It will better be 3 times better.
Well,
yeah.
Anyway.
Give it a rating, BS. Oh, sorry. I cut you off, Jeremy. Go ahead.
Oh, yeah, I have to go first, don't I? 4.
You son of a bitch.
Jeremy's going to come through the screen.
Son of a bitch.
God, I don't want to we've given a lot of 8s. I know we're just conveniently at the top point, but yeah, I'm going to say 8. I'm comfortable with an 8 on this one. We're just to be clear, so this isn't numbers creep, guys at home. We're just rating the affiliation cards, and conveniently all the A affiliation cards are really good. It's not my fault. One's coming, don't worry. 1 is coming. All right, Jeremy, what's your number?
I'll just hot take it to a 9. That's fine. I'll deal.
Jeremy! This card is as good as field dressing?
Yes.
I will slap you. You come to my house so I can slap you.
Get over here right now.
Parker, bring us back to Reason Town.
I was actually going to say a 7 again, and the reason why is 3 power.
That's it. That's it.
You don't get 3 power every turn.
Yeah, 3 power is not easy.
If you run dry, you can't place. This card has a lot of uses. It's amazingly versatile. It is also amazingly expensive. Let's quickly list the cards that cost 9 to 12. Okay, now that we've named Rainbow Bridge, let's talk about how balanced it is. Like, it is a shitload of power. And I know that they generate a lot of power, which is fair, but they could also play cards that don't cost 9 with their large amount of power.
Mm-hmm. You know what else is 9? The rating I'm giving the card. 9. It's a fucking 9.
Parker, what was your number?
7.
Okay, we need to say 7, not I was gonna give it a 7.
Oh, I'm sorry. I meant
that
I misspoke. 7.
So it's a 9.
8
Go ahead and mark a 9.
7, 8, 9 is an 8. Moving on to the Avengers cards. The best card in the Avengers.
Here we go.
Anger Management.
Okay. So, Anger Management. Any non-Hulk Avenger character within 3 of a Hulk may spend up to 5 to do damage to Hulk equal to the amount of power, and then he gains that much power as well.
Yeah.
So basically, you're transferring power
Patch
and
Up.
damage.
This is just the opposite of Patch Up.
Right. You are
it
purposely
just reverses Patch Up.
Yeah, you are purposely hurting Hulk and giving him power. That's it. That's what it is.
I do like the artwork on this one. Hawkeye has hit Hulk in the face with a cupcake.
Yeah.
It is pointed at the enemy character who has supposedly thrown it.
Yeah, I love that.
It is great art.
Yeah.
Now, I do want to point out, you did say of a Hulk within 3, it is an allied Hulk within 3.
Yeah,
If you could just
sorry.
pay 5 to deal 5 to a Hulk, I think this card might actually get played.
That's true. It's an allied
like
Hulk.
She-Hulk, surprise, you're dead. Like, that would be amazing. Ultimate tech. Yeah, I mean, this card is awful. It's so bad. The only reason that this card even technically has an ability is because of turn 1 plays. So if you have, for example, Thor could spend 2, or God, Vision would be another great one. Vision turn 1 could spend 5. Oh my God, this would be so bad. Spend 5 power, deal 5 to Hulk. Hulk now has 8 power before he's activated. And then you can play really weird cards, because you can play Gamma Launch to place someone else within 5. You could do all kinds of weird stuff. Not to mention, like, if you did it with Thor, you could you activate Thor, spend the 2 for anger management. Hulk then spends 3 to place him within 5, and then Hulk still has 2 power to play like tactical analysis or something. Like, there's all kinds of weird stuff that could happen. But really, the whole point of this card is to manipulate the amount of power you can have on turn 1, because outside of that, it's just bad. So that's the only reason to ever play with this card. But it's still terrible. It's basically advanced R&D, but really weird and expensive.
Okay, so it goes power on the character and damage on Hulk.
Mm-hmm.
So follow me here. So I've got we'll play anger management. We'll follow that up with no matter the cost, and then we will do all you got, just to blow up our own fucking Hulk in front of our opponent, so they freak out and they don't know what we're doing. We're like, boom, just killed my own Hulk.
Then
what?
you play Price of Failure. Just kidding.
And then you go, what? What are you going to do to me? I just killed my own Hulk. What now? Oh my God.
Yeah.
So bad.
So bad. Do you guys have anything to say about this?
No. No, it's really
How many
dumb.
times have you seen it played?
Ooh, 0, 30.
Yeah.
4, 3, never.
I feel like there's a subset of cards in this game called gag cards that are like super campy for the characters, and I feel like this falls squarely into that category.
I won't even give it that. This is an awful card. If it didn't cost power to use, I could see it.
Mm-hmm.
Because it'd be no matter the cost, but better because you could do up to 5 for Hulk, because Hulk has a huge health pool and he needs a lot of power. But you have to, it's just transferring power for taking damage. It's awful. This is just advanced R&D in reverse, but way worse, and it's affiliated. What the hell? This card is terrible. This is a 1.
Yeah, this is your baseline.
It's a 1.
That's bad.
Yeah, this is the worst opportunity cost in the game. Yeah.
Yeah. Let me spend 5 to take 5 damage. Just process that as the cost for a second. Not to mention, it is character specific and faction specific and range required. What the fuck?
Also, it took one of your tactics slots. Instead of field dressing, you took this.
If you put this in your roster, you should get another card for free.
Yeah. Oh, also, the cherry on top is you just paid 6 points for a 15 health Hulk. Congratulations.
Yeah. Yeah. But he starts with 8 power, because, it's really useful to turn 2 have 10 power, not 11, because you're maxed out. Like an idiot.
Oh my God.
The other argument is that turn 1 you could check 2 of the alien ship mission objectives.
Angela can do that.
Turn 1 you could.
Just cause.
Right. Angela can do that, and also Corvus Glaive and Proxima can do that.
Yeah, so okay.
Alright, so you guys are good with the 1? You haven't said anything.
Yes, it's a 1.
You gotta use your words. Jeremy.
I already said 1, but you want me to go 9? 9.
I never heard you say anything.
He did.
It's a 1.
Next up, Avengers Assemble.
Avengers Assemble is an active power. Any number of allied Avengers can immediately play 1 power to advance short.
Nice. It's a good card.
Yep, that's one of your ultimate box set cards that, it still gets played. It's phenomenal. It's good and cheap. It does exactly the things that you want tactics cards to do. They're like gotcha moments. They create awesome things. It creates an army that is pretty static to be dynamic for a turn. Like, it's really cool. Like it.
Yeah, this is the affiliated card that most cards are measured against because it was the first.
Yeah, I like it because if you printed this ability on a character, it would cost 2, right? So I really like that cost a tactic slot and only 1. It's a really premium score.
You think it would cost 2 power for a character to move? Just short?
Don't all the characters that move short cost 2 power?
Like charges.
I guess I was thinking of it as everyone moves 2.
Like, isn't Punisher's ability exactly this? Cost 2 power?
No, but I thought you meant like everyone moves for the cost of 2.
Oh,
I was
no.
like, holy shit.
No.
Like,
I meant if you wanted a character to spend a power to move, it costs
okay,
2. So the fact that this only costs 1 it's fantastic. It's literally half of every other cost in the game to move.
Out of activation as well.
Yes, that's even better because it gets around what you were talking about before, which is I need all my characters to do something right now, in this correct order. I like it.
All right, I think we're ready for numbers because we kind of ran out of gas there. 7. It's a really good card.
8.
Jeremy with the numbers creep.
I like look. I've been consistent. If it has movement in there, it's premium.
It's an 8. He's just reading off of a list. Movement 8.
Movement equals
Not
7.
Movement. Not movement 9.
Cheap.
I rated the Asgard movement card a 7 because of how expensive it is. I rate this as an 8 because of how cheap it is. I think this is
Oh my god.
Mark it an 8, dude.
Do an 8. You guys suck.
Fine, 9.
Numbers. We're
So
going
now
to
it's
rename
gotta
the
be 8.5.
podcast Numbers Creep.
You're the creep.
All right, next up, Second Wind.
So, Second Wind says that any number of allied Avengers can play the card, and if it costs 1, they immediately remove stun and also 1 damage.
I used to play this a lot back in Core Box days, primarily just because Hulk made a lot of my lists. And if Hulk got stunned, you basically lost the game. So I played it to remove stun. Also, I played... What was it? One of my lists was Avengers Symbol, Second Wind, Patch Up, Med Pack, and I think Field Dressing wasn't out yet. So I played Drop Off, I want to say. It was interesting. Basically just maximum healing on Hulk. But yeah, it's an okay card. Stun is surprisingly punishing to certain lists, like Asgard, but unfortunately it's an Avengers card, so it's alright. It's not great.
It does. It's what it's supposed to do. It's kind of a middle type card. I always think of the tactics cards as kind of like in War Machine, like a mini feat. Like it's something that's supposed to impact the game huge. There's just so many other effects that happen now. Like if you're going to get rid of something and you just say stun, like I would pay a premium for something that said get rid of anything. Like,
yeah,
Incinerate.
If this card was printed today, it'd probably say remove negative effects.
Yeah. There's just so many nasty ones out there.
And that's actually where I was going to go with this. There have been so many newer tactics cards that do great things, with negative effects and mess with them and give you power for them and all kind of cool stuff. The fact that it just removes one of them that has to go on the board, has to go on your character at a good time for you to play it. It's actually more. It seems generic, but I think it's actually a little more situational than it looks.
I actually think when this came out, there was only like 3 negative effects. There was stagger,
that's true.
Stun, and bleed. It was really just those 3.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. So yeah, it was a different world. You're not going to see this card in a list right now. It just
not
isn't.
anymore.
No.
This card got power crept pretty bad.
I think it got mechanics crept, honestly. Like, if there's still only 3 negative effects, it'd be pretty solid. But the fact that it doesn't remove, like, slow or, like, any of that stuff, yeah, it's pretty bad. I was gonna open with a 4, but I think I'm all the way down to a 2 now. Yeah, it's just, I mean, stun is particularly punishing, but the character that you want to stop stun from getting on is terrible now. So, like, Hulk got power creep real hard. So, really, we just found out how bad he was. Yeah, so I'm gonna go with a 2. I could be talked up to a 3.
I can't imagine cards that are, in this middle ground or bad like this one. I mean, it just isn't going to make a list, so that means to me it's like a 0. But it isn't worthless, and it's not a horrible card. So, 3.
Parker.
I'll go with the 3 because of the faction it's in. They're an attrition-based faction who love to defend. Every damage is precious against the Avengers. The fact that it removes one is actually probably the primary allure to this card. So,
yeah,
3.
Yeah, they tend to take a lot of small health pools that like to stick around for a while. All right, moving on to Black Order, we have Blood to Spare.
Blood to Spare. So Black Order Blood to Spare is a reactive card. When a character would be when a Black Order character would be dazed by an enemy effect, you can spend 3 to play this card. The character immediately performs an attack before gaining the dazed token. If this attack results in the character removing damage, if the attack results in the character removing damage from itself, it is not dazed. Meaning,
it's just future-proofing language.
Right. If it heals itself, it's not dazed. Currently, there's no way that interacts in the game, right? There's not.
Correct. There's currently nothing that does that.
Mm-hmm.
Black Order has some of the best labeled cards. Like, I love the. Like,
they were real careful.
Yeah, they're real cool. But I can't imagine this being played over some of the other cards that are out there. This is another one that's like.
It actually, okay, so there's several cards that I think are bad from their affiliation. This isn't actually one of them. This is a playable card. If you think about it as nothing else than Corvus can spend 3 power to make another attack. If you just think about it like that, it's a good card.
Does it make your list, though, still? Like, with the other cards that are available?
Probably not, no. But, I mean, you gotta remember, when it comes to tactics cards, because they're not, like, affiliation-based most of the time, like, there are a bunch of affiliated cards, but there's way more unaffiliated cards. Like, there's, like, well, we did the math, it was, like, 71 unaffiliated cards. So if you're thinking about it like that, if you're going to choose 8 out of 103, why would you pick anything below a 7? Yeah. Like, so, yeah, you could be a solid card, but, yeah, it's only going to get played in some situations. And it's mostly about, like, Corvus Glaive specifically has a very quality base attack. And maybe your whole point with Corvus is you just want to suicide him in. If you play Execute, you probably play this card. But if you're not playing one of them, you're probably not playing the other. Because the other one is basically Corvus Glaive, Proxima Midnight Super Team. Like, that's the plan. And this isn't the plan most of the time.
I'd rather play a tactics card that allowed him to attack 2 more times because he lived.
Okay.
I mean, if that's the logic behind it.
Yeah, but that I'm just saying it's not a 1. Like, yeah, it's probably not making most people's rosters.
It's definitely not a 1.
Yeah.
It does do something, and it doesn't cost a fortune.
This is the only, like, actual middle ground card I think we've talked about so far.
Okay. I agree. It is.
Everything else has been noticeably good or noticeably bad.
The Black Order, do they have a lot of ranged attacks? Because that's one way to nullify this, to just get hurt.
All have ranged attacks except for Black Dwarf.
Okay. I say that's the one thing I thought of is, there are situations where you have Blood to Spare, but you never get to use it because somebody hits you with a range 4 attack, and that's how you were dazed. And
Thanos and Black Dwarf are the only 2 that don't have range 4 attacks.
Okay. So you'll get something out of it.
Obviously, it's premium at melee range, but because both Corvus and Proxima have Pierce on their strikes. And it doesn't specifically say that you have to do a 0-cost attack. Like, if you've got a stack of power on Corvus, he could immediately Death Blow and, like, trigger Flurry, right? Let me check the wording on Flurry. So, yeah. So, range 3 attack, 7 dice. After attack resolved, this character may advance medium and has Flurry. So, yeah, you could effectively perform 2 attacks and a move in the middle of your opponent's turn. And Thanos has a throw as part of his strike.
Well, I mean, like you said, it's a middle. Like, It's fine.
Yeah.
Like, I thought, are you ready for a number? Like, I think we've all kind of agreed it's kind of middle.
Sure.
Like, a 5 feels just fine.
Yeah, I think 5's fine.
I actually have one quick question. This is an order of activation question. Do you have 3 power from the attack that dazed you in order to spin this card?
Let me confirm. I don't want to give the wrong answer here. Let me scroll back down. Blood to spare. The character, when a Black Order character would be dazed by an enemy effect. Yes, you have the power from the damage you just suffered.
Okay.
It's the same logic on the Age of Ultron and Deal with the Devil.
Makes sense.
Because you resolve damage before you check for dazed.
Okay. I was wanting to sure, because that could be a really crappy card if you had to have 3 damage on your healthy side in order for it to work. That'd be much more specific and much weaker. So,
I think the concept is the point of Black Order was to be an all-in blitz offense, and this plays into that really well. Because there's those times that you basically who's going to win the trade. Well, if we can stalemate the trade, that means I win. So, and also nobody will ever see this coming. Nobody plays this card.
Yeah.
Parker, what's your number?
I was actually going to rate it. I actually like it at a 5. Actually, I can't take it off of a 5.
All right, we're all on a 5. All right, so next up is Mothership, guys. Mothership.
All right. So Mothership says that 2 Black Order characters can both spend 2, place one of the 2 characters not holding an objective token within range 1 of the other character.
See, this one only places range 1. Rainbow Ridge places range 3, and you can have a token. Boom, broken. You were right, Jeremy. That's 3 times the place distance.
Wait a minute. Wait a minute.
Kind of, maybe a little bit. All right. So yeah, obviously this card's really good. My favorite thing I've done it on is I was playing Alien Ship, and I sent Black Dwarf to one flank, and I put Thanos in the middle, and Corvus Glaive and Proxima on the left flank. And Corvus Glaive and Proxima run up, do their thing, because Corvus had the Reality Stone, Proxima was with him, and so they get to double check on first turn of the game. She's rolling 4 dice to check for the objective, but 2 of those dice get it on crits and on failures. And so you have each of the Corvus dice are a 1 in 4 chance, and then the Proxima is a 1 in 4 for both. So you have 3 1 in 4 chances, roughly, mathematically speaking, to find it. So it's actually like better than 50% that you find it on top of 1. If you get priority going first. If not, then they get 1 chance to find it on a 1 in 4, roughly. So they find it. Thanos then triple moves to that side to hang out with them because he had Time Stone. Then Black Dwarf pays 2 on top of round 2 to then Mothership over, and I've got all 4 Black Orders standing on 1 point, and his army is so spread out because they were all planning on checking all the different points, and he was just like, I don't see how I win this. Like, neither do I. Like, there's no way that you're going to get this to work out. Because I can't remember what secure mission we were playing, but it was not nearly enough to make up for having the alien core. Because I had one of the points over there. We might have been playing Infinity Formula. I think we were. So I basically had 2 people on each of the 2 Infinity points. And so I was getting, I don't know, like 4 points a turn, and he was getting 2. Anyway, it's a fun card. It's not as functional as I think a lot of people think it is, because it's played in such a low model count faction that jumping large distances to group up even more is usually a bad thing in scenario, but sometimes it can work. Reinforcing who finds the random extract is really fun.
So this card kind of gives Black Order a leg up in that kind of faction, in that kind of game where you have to swing from one side of the board to the other really easily to make your models worth it.
Ooh, I did remember one time I played against John, and I felt really bad. So Proxima was about range 3 from Corvus. He was hanging back a bit. Proxima, the previous turn, had placed forward with her spear throw. Then she activated double moved long, and then I played Mothership to place Corvus in melee with Doctor Strange, and I want to say it was Spider-Man. And then he kills them both with double flurries on death blows. I was just like, I'm sorry. Like he just killed 9 points worth of characters, just randomly showed up and killed them both. And I was like, ooh, that was... And he was literally 3 feet away from them at the start of the turn.
Sounds like Black Order.
Yeah.
So the key to a good card, I mean, look, Black Order is going to take that card, right? They always take that card. That card will be one of the cards that gets taken. It is a movement orientation board card. It's going to get played. It gets taken with the faction. It's an excellent card for them. I mean,
I've played without it and been fine, but it definitely has a lot of quality. The biggest use I've had for it is making plays with Corvus, because delivering Corvus somewhere is usually your win condition in a lot of the games I've played. And so anytime you can make it really weird as to where that happens, like not being able to predict where Corvus is going to go.
Yeah, having a model just be plopped essentially anywhere you need it, because his wife is a speed long, and Thanos can place people. I mean, that model's going wherever you want it. So it's like insert death here.
She's also place long and then has a place within one of her target on a range 3 attack. So like she can get into really weird places.
I mean, this is an ace card for them, I think. You ready for numbers?
Yeah. I'm going to go with a 6.
I'll go with the 6. 6 is fine.
I was actually going high on this one. I think it's 7.
The reason I didn't go higher is place one character one time, and that character can't have an objective token. Just think about the number of scenarios that are like 5 extracts, and you have 3 characters. Like, you get to points when you just can't use it. Like, you have to use it early for very little gain.
I see it as you remove one model from the game. Like, you get an opportunity to, second turn, deliver Corvus anywhere you need him fresh. Like, boom.
Also, outside of Thanos, the faction doesn't generate that much power. So, like, playing it before combat is kind of rough. It's good. I mean, they're going to take it more often than not, but they're certainly not like a staple, I would say. You can easily play Black Order without it.
Yeah, the fact the model count's so low, and there's so many extracts that you have to deal with, like, that quickly becomes out of control.
Yeah. Alright, well, I'm putting a 6 anyway, because we outvoted him. Last card we're going to rate today is going to be Price of Failure.
The Price of Failure is an active card. You choose an injured allied character to play this card. Other allied characters gain 3 power, and the chosen character is KO'd. So you lose a character off the table, but every other character gains 3 power.
So, this card looks really cool and fun and interesting, and then once you try and make it work, you realize it's terrible. And then once you read the forums, you realize it's amazing. So a lot of people are talking about stuff that can happen is like, let's say, for example, a character of an unknown variety gets dazed. You then field dressing them, immediately activate them. They attack, generate some more power, play all you've got, generate some more power, then play Price of Failure right before they die.
There's a lot to be done there. That's it's fine.
It's not a good card. It's a cool card, and I'm glad that it exists somewhere within the game. It's also, if you look closely, it's one of the few cards in Black Order that isn't Black Order keyed. It just Black Order affiliated. So you can actually play it on anybody.
Right.
Yeah.
So you could play it on, like, Hulk, for example.
I was getting ready to say that.
Hulk could get dazed, then get undazed, double activate, and then still give everybody 3 power when he was going to die anyway.
Yeah. I mean, the obvious... Okay, so without getting wacky and silly.
Wait,
and crazy.
how can Hulk do that? Can Hulk actually be injured?
Hulk cannot be injured. He can be dazed.
But it says
if Hulk would be injured, he is KO'd. Not if he would be dazed, he is KO'd.
But it says but you have to the part of the stipulation of the cards it has to be an injured ally character to play it.
Oh, injured. Sorry. So
Hulk
not
cannot,
damaged.
Yeah,
injured.
Hulk cannot play it.
So not Hulk, sorry. So the field dressing combo doesn't work.
Mm-hmm.
You could all you've got though.
Yeah.
Sure. So the reality, though, with this card, most of the time, you're going to be sitting on a Nebula that's already activated and surrounded by 3 other dudes that are getting ready to kill Nebula. Like, that's what you're going to do. And how
you
often
play
is
it
that
at the
gonna
same
happen?
time you would play all you've got. You play at the same time you would play all you've got. It's not a good card because your faction doesn't need 3 power.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And it also doesn't have
It's
models
just
to
not
just
them.
lose. Like, it does not have models to lose like that. You probably lost the game.
Because when you play all you've got, you're like, well, I'm going to die regardless. I might as well try and get some damage first. And so you play it hoping that you like take someone out before they get the chance to take you out for good. That's the same time you play this card. It's like you activate, you do your stuff, you say, go screw yourself. I'm not going to give you the privilege of killing me. I'll get power instead of you getting power.
Mm-hmm. I don't think you see this card played, like, realistically, right? People
How about
just
this?
don't play this card.
I'm trying to think of ways that you could just do the dumbest stuff ever. I'm trying to think of how you could get 4 power on somebody. Okay, so you start with Vision. Vision, double synthesis, gets to 5 power, place all you've got, gets injured on turn 1, turn 2, plays Price of Failure. like, never moves and dies.
I think we've got a theme. This podcast has a new theme.
Generates 6 power for himself and 6 power for your list.
I also love like the names of the cards. First, he's like, "All I've got," and then he immediately just goes failure and falls over dead, and everybody else gets power.
It's like a failed attempt at a synthesoid. It
right.
just like breaks. Like you try to turn it on and it overheats and explodes.
Vision,
beep,
why
beep,
did you do that? It was all I've got.
Vision, calm down.
That is
You're not supposed to do that.
Oh my god,
that's so weird.
So is it every card now? Like, we have to come up with a combo of how we use it to kill our own
how
model?
You kill yourself on turn
as soon as possible. As soon as possible.
Well, originally I was like, yeah, use anger management. I'm like, no, because you can't use this with Hulk. Oh, damn it. And so I immediately moved on. I was like, who can get 5 power on turn 1?
Oh my god.
Okay, I think we're ready. There's not much to talk about with this card. It's basically, obviously you sacrifice your character for power. We don't think it's that important because you're affiliate. I mean, the only character that needs that kind of power is Corvus, and sacrificing a character to give Corvus 3 power is not a good idea, even if the character's injured. It's a super low opportunity card, and it does not have that much reward. If it was like, everyone gets 3 power and advances short, like, okay, now we're talking about an ability. Like, 3 power is like nothing. Like, you can get 3 power, like, from a lot of stuff. So I'm going to give this a 3. I mean, I think it could be played, and it could be not bad when it gets played. It's going to be very rare.
I was going to put that as a 4, because it's, there's stuff you can do with it, but it's just not going to see play. I wish this card was non-affiliated. Like, you could get creative in the outside world, just running amok with it. It would be kind of cool just to see what you could come up with in the real world. But in Black Order world, they just don't have that model. It just isn't happening.
I don't know, man. I still, even in a weird unaffiliated list, I still don't know the 3 powers that. It's so valuable to have a health bar in this game. Like, being alive is so effective. Like,
what if you had 8 2-pointers, man? If you had 8 2-pointers running around, and all of a sudden they're like,
but if
you have to have some other ability. Like, if you were stacking it with, like, when an ally is KO'd, get this ability. It's like, well, then sure. Like, if you're stacking other effects too, but this in a vacuum is not enough.
Right. Also, the thing is, I would gladly pay all 3 kit power on all my characters if there was a tactics card that said all of your characters. If there was a tactics card that says spend 3 power on all your characters, your opponent choose an opponent's character, they lose an action. Like. No, that's not the. I mean, it sounds like a really steep cost, but making my opponent lose an action, because that's what it costs, right? In order to actually kill that character, they've got to spend something, whether it be a throw or an attack. So you're not just losing a character; you're also losing. You're doing work for your opponent.
Future proof. Let's just reevaluate this card when Phoenix comes out, because who knows what will happen when she dies.
There you go. Maybe she dies and it's amazing. But
Jean Grey dies, Phoenix appears, big problem. That'd be like all you've got into Price of Failure right there.
Right.
We've got Dark Phoenix on turn 2.
Right. It's all I've got.
Like, what are you doing? Like incoherent screaming.
I give this. By the way, I give this card a 2. I give this card a 2 because I want I want my character.
That's an average 3. All right. Yeah, I think 2 is probably close to correct, but because it affects any character that's in the Black Order list, I think it has a little bit of opportunity to get played. Alrighty, so that's gonna wrap up our ratings for today. And now let's see. We have one more topic. Parker's gonna talk about his heroes that will not be hired by anyone because they look terrible.
So,
are they going to be hired by savers to get some new clothes? Is that where they're getting hired?
So I actually, speaking of what they look like, I actually want to talk about a really old comic. Now, I don't do this very often because there was a time when comic books were, for the most part, with few exceptions, super campy and very juvenile, and they weren't very sophisticated stories with very round characters. And that was the time that I started reading comic books. When, as a middle as a middle schooler, I love those kind of stories because they appeal to my very simple tastes. One of the comic books, one of the very first titles that I ever collected every single issue ever was the Heroes for Hire that came out in 1996. It was the very first Heroes for Hire title exactly. The Power Man and the Iron Fist were called the Heroes for Hire, but the title of the comic was Power Man and Iron Fist when they were introduced in the 70s. But in 1996 they made a Heroes for Hire. It was a result of the Onslaught. Onslaught was the subconscious supervillain created by Charles Xavier's subconscious mind. And at the end of the Onslaught, almost all the Earth's mightiest heroes were absorbed. So they literally, Marvel decided just to lose their titles for a little while. So Fantastic Four, Avengers, X-Men were X-Men were the only title they kept. And they decided to make some new ones. And Heroes for Hire was one of their new kind of pitches. They wanted to see what would happen if they gave, Iron Fist and Luke Cage a full superhero team. So on the team was the founding members, Iron Fist and Luke Cage, Black Knight, a new White Tiger, Hercules, She-Hulk, and Ant-Man, Scott Lang Ant-Man. And the reason why I fell in love with this comic book was not the writing. It's got a fine story, and it's a lot like Avengers kind of storylines where they deal with just about every single Marvel thing at least once. Like they go up against the Eternals once, and they go up against the High Evolutionary once, and they literally span almost everything that you can think of in the Marvel Universe, a lot like early Avengers titles. But it's the art. Pascal Ferry is the artist of it, and he is a Spanish, actually, from Spain. He's a Spanish artist, and he has been able to kind of jump around to various titles, a lot of the Marvel titles over the course of his career, and every time he stops at a title for a little while, I gobble up those comics because his art style is completely unique and I think absolutely tremendous. What he does with lines, and particularly his devotion to energy effects. He puts energy effects all over every page in a kaleidoscopic way, but everything's very, instead of being kind of a pukey kind of wavy lines, he uses what we actually know about electromagnetism and a lot of round shapes, like circles are everywhere. I wish I could describe exactly what Pascal Ferry does to his comic books in terms of art, but if you've never read a Pascal Ferry comic, and you're interested in, Luke Cage and Iron Fist, check out the 1996 stuff for Heroes for Hire. Since then, Pascal Ferry's done a bunch of other stuff, and I have all of it. He's done art for Thor. He did Ultimate Iron Man, Ultimate Fantastic Four.
Why don't you just give him the title of a comic, and they can probably just Google the name in the comic.
Then you just want Heroes for Hire 1996. You want that run. Heroes for Hire in 1996. The one I was.
Well, I meant
about.
A particular cover, maybe that you were referring
to. If you type in Heroes for Hire, actually, if you just type in Heroes for Hire on the internet, the very first thing that pops up is Pascal Ferry's initial Heroes for Hire cover.
Okay.
So you get to see his style, but I fell in love with a lot of the B class heroes in the Marvel Universe, like She-Hulk, Ant-Man, Black Knight. Iron Fist and Cage. I got to meet them all in Heroes for Hire, and the stories were fine, but Pascal just made them come to life. And if you want to know a little bit about, kind of classic 90s history Marvel Universe, Heroes for Hire was a great example of that. because they literally threw away the Avengers, and Heroes for Hire was kind of their replacement. They wanted to know what would happen if they made it their primary, global hero title. It lasted for 19 issues and was canceled. And they brought back, and then, they wrote out a way that all of the, Earth's mightiest heroes and everybody else came back, and then, is back to business as usual. But for a while, the Heroes for Hire was, Earth's only option against a lot of bad guys, and it was fun to read. Also, in this one, Iron Fist is very much kind of he's not actually a gimmicky, goofy guy like he is in the modern telling of Heroes for Hire. He's more of like a Bruce Wayne kind of. He's like contemplative, and he feels like the weight of the world on his shoulders because all the other heroes are gone, and so he feels like he has to do something about the fact that there's nobody defending the Earth because of the onslaught. So he's much more concerned and responsible in this depiction, unlike some of the modern depiction where he's very he's very adventurous and excitable and super positive about beating up the bad guys all the time. It's a different Danny Rand. I liked it. I recommend Heroes for Hire 1996 if you're cool with campy but you want to see something beautiful. Man, oh man, cool. It's cool.
Alrighty. Thanks to the Comic Corner. And I think that's going to do it for us today. Thanks everyone for joining us. And this has been Brandon.
And Parker.
And Jeremy Gerg.
And thank you for listening to The Gang Cosplays as Iron Fist. I kind of wish we had recorded all the Hellsing Ultimate Abridged stuff.
You didn't have that going? You got the backup?
No, I didn't. If you listen to us, then I can only imagine you'll like Hellsing Abridged.
Yeah.
Fair warning, it is extremely over-the-top and graphic.
Ridiculously vulgar and graphic. It's awful.
It's got all the good stuff. Everything that we've grown to love.
You can't look at drawn blood. I don't understand, the graphic warnings. If you're an adult and you can't look at drawn blood, I don't understand. Where I don't know where the disconnect is between you and me. Because, I don't need to look at it, and I don't hate looking at it. But, when the people are like, oh, I don't want to watch it if it's super bloody. You're like, why? How is that the line? I don't know. Alrighty, so we're here.
We are indeed.
We have set aside the next 20 minutes for talking about WandaVision. So, let's... Parker, you should have watched it.
I did not yet have the opportunity, but it is on the short list.
This is going to be spoiler safe. No spoilers from WandaVision, so don't worry. I'm just making fun of Parker. I was just thinking the best way to get 0 listens to your podcast is name it WandaVision Spoilers. I was like, if I just changed the name to WandaVision Spoilers, we would have record low downloads.
Yeah, that would be pretty bad.
Mm-hmm.
So what's they're doing the next one is going to be Bucky and what's his face, right? The next show.
It's the Falcon and Winter Soldier.
Yeah.
I don't know if I like them.
There's a teaser out for it. I really liked their interactions in Civil War.
Yeah,
so
they were carry
that
War.
They carry that chemistry into this, they'll be fine.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I hope so. I don't know. I don't like their powers, I guess.
Yeah,
I just don't think that they're interesting.
Oh, no, yeah.
I'm like, what are they? It's like a buddy cop movie? I'm not sure.
Yeah, it's buddy spy movie, yeah.
Yeah, it's 100%.
That's what the teaser looks like.
I need magic. I need people ripping each other apart. I need Infinity Stones. I need that shit.
Mm-hmm.
I don't need...
Well, you're in luck because we're all about to get a bunch more Infinity Stones.
Cool. So...
Parker, what do we have for news?
Oh, you got... Yeah.
Sorry.
Oh, yeah, I see it.
Pretty Sneaky Sis, Power Man, and Iron Fist models. That's really it.
Jeremy, what were you going to say?
Oh, just fucking how much I hate those 2 new models that came out. I think they're really stupid. That's my news.
Let's save it for the cast. Let's save it for the cast. I want to hear Jeremy's hot take.
Ooh, I'll say this
on
with
the cast.
news. I'll put this in the news section.
Oh, like you know some release dates?
I'm saving it for the cast.
Okay. Oh, you want to start with that, or you want to do that at the end?
I'll do that first.
Okay.
All right, what's up, Jeremy?
Nothing.
Nobody tells me nothing. Nobody ever gave me nothing.
It sucks. I'm going to St. Louis this weekend, and my entire family's like, "Oh, is there a tournament or something?" I'm like, "Go to hell. Just go to hell. There's no tournaments. There's nothing like that. I'm just going to visit friends, and I'm not sure if I'm going to enjoy myself."
Oh, I mean, I went to the tournament this last weekend.
The one that you hosted,
I
or
was
what?
surprised you weren't there. Yeah.
Oh,
We had 11 people. You weren't there.
the 40K tournament?
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool.
I'm surprised you got 11 people to come to a 40K tournament.
No, it was 15, actually.
Wow.
Dude, they don't give a fuck.
Speaking of, I would say some other words, but I know that some people from the store may listen to this. But, hi, John. I'm not going to say things about 40K on the podcast for respect to John.
Aw.
Except that John knows who I'm talking about, and that person that was intentionally stalling at the tournament, very upset about that. He knows who I'm talking about.
We all do respect John. John, friend of the podcast. Friend in general. Good guy. Good guy, John.
He beat me in a game, so to be honest with you, I don't like him. I'm just hot take.
Is that what it takes?
Hot take. The nicest guy, like, almost ever, and like I can't stand him. Not true.
Why are you so mean?
I'm like, how many listeners?
That means you must absolutely detest me with every fiber of your being, then.
It's bad.
He's like, it's not untrue.
I mean, lordy.
Oh boy. All right, so for these ratings, we're just going to do 1 to 10 ratings, Parker.
Okay.
I kind of wish we could have a like baseline. Like, what would be a 5? Should we talk about that real quick? Like, is there a generic 5 that we could talk about? There's like, this card is exactly average.
Which one would that be?
The problem is, I'm thinking like maybe Marked for Death would be a good like baseline, like 5, because it's good, but it's not awesome, and it's not great, but it's not bad. It rarely gets played, but is useful. But the problem is, so many tactics cards are going to be like the 1 to 3 range. I think there's so many bad ones.
Well,
Yeah.
I mean, we could look at it differently too. Like, look at it in that, okay, does it cost power? So that makes it worse than a card that doesn't cost power, kind of, sort of. So what does it give you? Does it give you health back? What does it give you? Is it offensive? Is it defensive? I think there's like a number of things you could count towards a total of points. And then, does the faction even need it? Kind of deal. Like, there's certain things that all the cards have in common. I mean, they're either offensive, defensive.
Yeah,
they're either free, not free. I mean,
I don't want to just do a hard point system, because there's going to be some cards that like might be free but are also terrible. Like, let's do Angered Management, for example. This is a pretty good one. So Angered Management costs 0 power. Is an Avengers only card. Any non-Hulk Avenger character within 3 of an allied Hulk, slightly restrictive so far, may spend up to 5 power. Hulk suffers that much damage. Like, what the hell? Like, how is this a card in the game? Like, and meanwhile, other cards exist. And literally Heave Ho is better than that card.
so,
I'm just thinking, just so you got, I know, just so we're kind of on the same page. I'm thinking like things around Marked for Death power level. I'm viewing as like a 5 right now.
okay.
So I don't know if you guys have an opinion on that. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Should we talk about that before we start rating stuff?
I feel like
Parker, stop playing your phone games.
Marked for Death is above average. I mean, if we're looking at like a 5, I think Marked for Death is 6 or 7.
Do you think well, 5 is on the lower half, I guess.
So, okay,
1 to
so
10.
what would a 10 be?
Yeah.
Maybe that's...
I don't know if there is a 10. Field dressing's at least a 9, though.
So field dressing's a 9. The 2 healing
and
cards.
Heave-Ho is a 1.
Sure, it's fucking. Well, no, I don't think Heave-Ho would be a 1. It does something that it's not great. But there's cards that are worse
Has
than
text.
Heave-Ho.
Jeremy's requirements to not be in a 1 have text.
Some cards might as well not have text. You just read one a second ago.
I agree. Heave-Ho might as well not have text. I guess you could say Thunderwave is worse because it's more restrictive.
Mm-hmm.
But, dude, cost 1 each, throw a size 2 thing within 2 of both characters' medium. That is garbage.
It's bad.
The fact that would ever make a roster slot over another card is insulting to cards. Like, insulting to the value of paper cardboard.
What do I put?
Like, get out of here.
What do I put in my 8th spot then? Okay, now I've got a hole.
Literally let's just pick a card at random. Here, there's 103 cards.
I'm not saying it's
random.com. Random.com. God, is it .org? We're doing this. Random.org. 103. Generate. 93. What's card 93 on the list? Uneasy Allies. Better. I don't even care if you don't have those 2 characters in your list.
Not even in the roster.
Not even because it's just as likely to make your squad. I defy you to find 5 cards that you could play legally that are worse than Heave-Ho.
Challenge accepted.
Okay. That you can legally play. Find them.
Hold on. Give me a moment.
Moment taken.
Okay, not that.
All right, while he's momenting, I'm going to go pee and do something useful.
I'll do the same thing. I'll be right back.
Get your water, I'll be back. Oh. I feel like your moment is past, bro.
Oh man, I didn't realize how bad it really is.
It's so bad.
I haven't dug through like the all of the cards in a long time. Oof.
So requires 2 characters to have power and be within range 2 of the same piece of terrain that is not larger than size 2, and then one of them has to have a throw lane to an enemy within medium range.
Well, I mean, I think I was just trying to defend it for the sake of defending because I thought there was worse. I have to say that could be the worst card. That could be our...
There's a reason I say it when I say the worst card.
Well, I know, but...
I mean, there might be a worse one, but to me, that's the worst. Because the cost value for... Because if you cared at all, in the least, about having the ability to throw size 2 terrain in your roster, it wouldn't be on Heave-Ho. You would just take a good character. Because there's a ton of them. Like, literally, it's just Valkyrie's Throw that costs the same amount of power, but only happens once and is on a bad card. Like, why?
Because you're afraid MODOK will throw it at you first.
No, he'll throw the size 3 thing at you first. And he'll do it from out of your range. Like, it's so bad.
It's bad.
Not to mention, meanwhile, while you were trying to set up Heave-Ho, he Doomsday Chair twice. Good luck. Like,
yeah.
What the fuck?
No, I mean, we talked about it last week of how bad it is. I agree. It's bad. It's really bad. I just thought of the number of cards are here that there'd be something worse. That would be funny, though, to set up for your opponent and be like, I'm going to pick your 8 cards you have to use, and you're going to pick the 8 cards I have to use.
Mm-hmm. I want to do you build a roster and swap rosters with your opponent, because every time you go to a tournament, you're basically looking at what your opponent thinks is the best stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so going to a tournament and seeing what your opponent thinks is the worst stuff is interesting, because I think you'll see more variance in that situation.
Mm-hmm.
And then also trying to win with bad models is always way more fun than trying to win with good models. The only problem with trying to win with bad models is your opponent isn't doing it. And so it's way more fun when you're both doing it.
That would be fun. That'd be a good version of the, what is that called? I don't know. The one where you set it
Caster swap?
Yeah.
Maybe we'll do a charity event, because that's usually what we do with the silly events for War Machine. Like Food Machine anyone not familiar, basically it's a charity event as a food drive. And so you bring in a bunch of food items that are dry storageable to donate to a food pantry. And then during the event, you can donate cans. And so every food item is equivalent to a number of cans. And so you'll count up everything in advance, donate everything, and you'll have so many like can tokens. And you'll spend so many cans to do things in the game. Like spend 1 can to reroll a dice, and it costs an additional 1 every time you do it. And then stuff like that. And so it's fun, it's silly, everyone gets to screw around. One of them is you can spend like 50 cans at the start of the event to bring a model not normally allowed in your affiliation. And so you would bring, for people semi-familiar with War Machine, you would play like a Krix army led by like Karchev the Terrible, who is a Khador Warcaster, which is normally obviously not allowed and in no way balanced, but it's fun. And so... And then there was stuff like you could take other non-caster models out of faction. You could... I think there was one where you caster swap at the start of the game. And so if your opponent brought like some really scary Warcaster, you could spend like 100 cans to trade leaders at the start of the game. It was really funny. So like, just imagine like at the start of the game, you spend 10 food items to switch your Red Skull with their Thanos. It's just like, now we're playing like this. And you're like, oh god. Like, it's just all of a sudden, it's just off the rails. I think I would want to do it alone just for the rerolls on the dice.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think for a charity event, just in general, like mulligan tokens are always good. Spend actual cash and reroll dice. That's enough.
And Parker must have had a big poopy inside of him.
He had a food baby.
Mm-hmm.
Apparently they finished their TTS league, not league, but they did a team, like a world team championship type thing on Tabletop Simulator for Marvel Crisis.
Oh, yeah.
I just can't imagine the shit show that would be. That's hurting a lot of cats.
Honestly, it's probably a lot easier to get people to show up to their computer on time than to show up to, like, Poland.
That's a good point.
I remember, dude, the year Carl went to the WTC, everyone on his team had a major life-altering event within 4 days of their trip.
Oh my god.
It was awful. Multiple people missed flights, international flights.
Really?
It was a shit show. Yeah, it was terrible. They had, I want to say they had 2 or 3 substitutes, and because when a person doesn't come, their army doesn't come, and it's painted only. And the lists are submitted 6 months in advance, basically. Like you're locked in to what you're playing months ahead of time.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's like, well, now we don't have those models, and they're not painted. And the guy's not here. What do we do? And so, like, you could nominate an alternate, but the alternate could play, but we didn't have the models for him because you can't have a duplicate of every army show up, right? And so, like, he was literally walking around. He's like, hey, do you have extra models you're not using? And to every person, through language barriers, hey, can I borrow your models for the weekend? And they were donating models to the guy. And so when they got all the models, they basically wrote down everything that was available. And they tried to build lists out of what was there. But it was all like the shit nobody was using. Because like in War Machine, field allowance was a really important thing. You can only have so many of each item. It was basically like an allotment number. And so, like, one of the things that was really popular was the Hellmouth, which is like this big tentacle monster that comes out of the ground. But you can only have 2 of them. So nobody would own 4. And they were so good that if you owned them, you'd be playing them. And so you just can't borrow that because nobody would ever buy more than 2. And nobody would ever not take both of them. And so it was just a shit show. Because, like, all the leader models are 1 only. They're all characters. And so if they brought them to an international event, it's because they're using them. And so it was just a fucking shit show trying to put lists together at the last second. I can't believe Brent and Tom got so far. And basically they built 3 lists that were technically legal and painted, and they basically went to the judges and says, what do we do? Like, we can do these 3 lists. What do you want us to do? And the judges voted on it, and they said, well, basically, your opponent is going to pick which of your 2 lists you get to play with. And then they're like, so get rid of that one because it's the least similar to what was originally submitted. And then these 2 are your lists. Your opponent gets to pick which list you get to play with. It was like, oh god, it was pretty messed up. But it was impressive that I even got that far. Welcome back, Parker. How was your poopy?
Lethal.
Lethal. Extreme.
In the words of Ron Swanson, I cracked the bottom of the toilet bowl last night.
Cracked it.
That's a good episode.
Oh boy. All right, so we got some newly playing hobby projects. Oh, I haven't done from the forums. Do you guys want to pander while I look up some forum stuff?
Pander?
What's it called? Pandering?
Panhandling?
Stall for time?
Oh no, pandering is when you like try to appeal to the audience and try to just cheaply.
What's it
appeal.
when you like shamelessly stall for time with no real content?
Ooh,
I thought it was always referred to as pandering because you're basically trying to appease the audience while not actually doing anything.
What is the thing the government they do when they stand up and they have to? Like they'll do like
That's
hours and hours. Filibuster. We have to filibuster.
Filibuster. I thought you were gonna say Pledge of Allegiance. I don't know why. It's weird. My memory has gotten better as I've gotten older to the point where I'm remembering things that I've forgotten previously. Like I remember actively in like the 8th grade, I could no longer remember the Pledge of Allegiance because we did Pledge of Allegiance when I was in school. It was like I was on like the last wave of that happening. And then I did ROTC in high school, and so that was the only class we did Pledge of Allegiance in. And then after that, I couldn't remember it after so long. And so I was just like, man, I wonder, like, and so I was always like curious about like, should I go look it up? Like it's so weird that I said it so many times I can't remember what it was, and now I can remember it easy. It's just weird.
What, because of football? The Chiefs?
Yeah, all those. Yeah. Well, after smelling all those gas fumes, I can remember it really easily.
It brought everything back to you.
Yeah, it's crystal clear now. It's good to know, but that should be... Oh, Reality Gems on here. That's always a good day.
Did you make a new list, Parker?
Yeah, but it doesn't have any Inhumans in it.
Oh, no. What are you working on now?
I thought I sent you I sent you a text. I told you.
Did you? I didn't see it.
Yeah, I responded. Yeah, I responded to your message at length. But I can tell you, it was it's based on actually the Avenger episode that we did, where we rated the Avengers. I basically am going ham for 4-pointers and 3-pointers, and not going to put a 2-pointer in the list and see what happens.
It's fine.
I want to see what happens. I want to see what happens if I only do 4-pointers and 3-pointers and 1 5-pointer.
Well, what I always recommend to Jeremy is just take nothing but 2s and 4s, and you'll never have a problem.
How could you ever have a problem?
He hasn't done it yet, so I don't know.
And 1 Power Stone, but no Ronin.
Oh my god! I know.
Can you even do that? Can you take this?
You can take as many Power Stones as you want. You don't have to take a guy who can carry them. Fucking fill your whole list with them fucking things. I got a bag. I got a bag of gold.
I believe they are unique, but yeah.
Just take them. They're like,
I got my
Kingpin. What are you playing? I'm playing.
He's got time stone.
5 points. They're like, what are you talking about? 5 points. They're like,
there's no rule. I have actually checked this. There is no rule saying you must spend all of your points to get to the threat level. You can just play 1 2-point character.
How can you lose?
I'm just playing.
I don't see how you could.
5 times. I'm playing 5 stones. That's it. I'm going
to Points Locker Black Widow. Points Locker Black Widow. I'm just going to be range 3 away from everything whole game. How can I lose?
Oh man. So you're playing Captain America. You're playing a bunch of characters that benefit from cheap powers and. Basically, it's how many ways can I abuse the Avengers' power? And it's a bunch of 4-pointers. Mm-hmm.
And there's enough spots left over in my initial idea that I could. There was just kind of some random stuff thrown in there that I don't think I'd ever use. I've considered dropping, finding spots for one Team Tactics card and putting in Wakanda Forever and putting in Shuri and Killmonger Okoye, just because in case for some reason I wanted to play the objective, I could switch over to that. Because Black Panther's already in the list because he's one of the 4-pointers that's pretty brutal in Avengers. So I considered that, but the primary game plan is play 4-pointers and 3-pointers, and maybe a 5-pointer if you got a really big point level, and Like at 19 points, you probably play Ghost Rider. Ghost Rider's my 5-pointer.
So
it's Vision. It's Vision, Black Panther, Cap, Agent Widow, Hawkeye, and I think that leaves spaces for Okoye, Killmonger, and Shuri. So technically there would be a 2-pointer in the list, but I don't know when I would play Wakanda. I guess if I saw somebody who was going, all in on beat 'em up, but I didn't think I could survive it. But
so Captain, but you don't really have a strong second in that list. It's just kind of like dudes.
Strong second. What do you mean? Like,
so like
MODOK isn't in the list, if that's what you mean.
Yeah, like you don't have the character that you're trying to protect with Captain that's obvious. Like everybody's just kind of there. Like a strong second could, like Captain Marvel would be a second, or I don't see. So go ahead. What?
I forgot Sabretooth. I can't remember Sabretooth and Venom, or just Sabretooth or Venom are in the list. I think it's both. Maybe that's why the Black Panther didn't work. My Black Panther didn't work because I dropped in Ghost Rider, Venom, and Sabretooth as well. But I was staring at it, wondering when I would ever get to play Venom and Sabretooth, and the answer is I'm not sure when that would be. You'd have to be 8. So I'd have to put probably Little Widow in there to make that happen consistently, and I didn't want to. I purposely wanted to play Agent Widow.
Mm-hmm. What are your tactics?
And that's
cards?
mostly just I want to. All the good ones that Avengers assemble, like that's.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah, that's it really is just med pack, field dressing, climbing gear. Can you run brace? Do you have enough spots, or is that been excluded because I ran? I think no, I don't think you can run brace with those 2 in it already. And
so are you? You just didn't dig Inhumans enough to like follow that train of thought, or?
Well, I was going to talk about it when we get to playing currently, because
okay.
Basically, after one game, I'm not willing to never play them again. I wasn't mad about their performance per se, but they are really fair. Like they're really fair. Like they don't. Mm-hmm. I didn't feel like I was breaking any rules, or after the game, I was like, I feel like I could have done exactly that with any models in the game, just in there. I don't feel like the Inhumans one. I never saw the Inhumans do something that only Inhumans do.
Yeah, the only thing they do is placement. They are aggressive board manipulation for themselves. That's about all they do.
Right. It is cool. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say it's really awkward because I think they're gonna get compared to Wakanda a lot, and Wakanda does a lot of board manipulation against enemies, and then also has more rerolls than Inhumans do.
Right. And none of them felt like I was cheating. I didn't, that's one of the things I like. I like playing models where it feels like, you're playing one game, but I'm playing a different game, a better game where I win more often.
Yeah.
And none of them felt like I was doing that. That being said, their tactics cards are fucking amazing. Like, their tactics cards are really good. But I didn't even get to use Terrigenesis because we didn't have any civilians in play. So, yeah. But what's weird is the way this game works. You only play Terrigenesis if you lose priority, because you'll probably get to pick a red mission, and you probably brought civilian red missions.
Parker, a lot of people are going to bring civilian missions.
Okay, but so yes, I'm sorry. If your opponent obliges you and gives you an extract with civilians, that also works too. But
well, actually, let's look at this now, since this is a good time. So we have 18 missions currently. So if we look at extracts only, let's see, do I have this pulled up on our Excel already? Okay, so we have, I'll sort it like this. I want call and sort. Okay, so Mystic Wakandan Herbs is a no. So Panic is yes. Alien Ship, no. Scrolls, yes. Worthy, no. Montesi, no. Spider Infected, yes. Cube, no.
Mutant, I think, is the last
senators,
one. Yeah.
Yes. Okay, so we have 5 out of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 5 out of 9 of the extracts are civilian based.
Mm-hmm.
Also, there is the Mayor Fisk, but obviously you can't pick those up. So
yeah, I wasn't like if somebody told me you have to play Inhumans for a year, I wouldn't be mad. It wouldn't like
I would.
It wouldn't make me upset. But I would do the whole thing knowing that it's just fair.
Yeah, if I had to play Inhumans for 4 games, that'd be brutal to me. Did you get that burn?
Yeah.
All right, I think we're ready to get started. I got some forum topics.
Okay. Got to get my shirt off.
I like.
All right, so I looked up this Heroes for Hire. Is it the one with the Hulk in the background?
Yeah, in the first issue,
Okay.
the Hulk said.
Who's
the
the
first
guy
issue.
in the front? Is that Feng Long?
Let me look at the what picture you're looking at.
Is that like an orange thing by his hand?
That's Iron Fist.
No, that's not Iron Fist.
Yeah.
Is Iron Fist just standing behind that guy?
No, yeah, Iron Fist in the front. That's Iron Fist.
That's not what Iron Fist looks like.
Are you're trolling me, right?
No, he's got like the green short pants and then like totally topless, ripped.
This is
like,
actually this is
oiled
like
up.
his traditional outfit. That is his
I don't
traditional outfit.
know what you're talking about.
The new Iron Fist is like in dark green garb from head to toe. He's like a ninja looking guy.
There's a Doom issue of Heroes for Hire.
Yeah. Yo, they literally fight just about everybody. It's like the Avengers. Like each issue is a different, bad guy of the week kind of thing.
Yeah, I tried to watch that new I don't know if it's new. It was a television cartoon for Avengers Earth's Mightiest Heroes. They do a new one every like 3 or 4 years. But I think I told you guys about this one. It's written for too young of an audience for me to be able to get into it, because it'll be like Hulk goes in to crush all these robots, and he's like, but then he stops to external monologue about why it's okay to kill the robots because they're not people and he's not hurting anyone. I'm like, what? Like I don't need you to explain why Hulk is smashing. And Hulk is constantly like making points and stuff. I'm like, what? It's like they tried to make Hulk like a teacher, and it's like, no, just let him punch stuff.
Because learning is half the battle.
Yeah. I remember when my cartoons, Wolverine threatened to murder people in the street because they were different than him. like, yeah. And while drinking a beer. Like, I think we're okay, guys.
Oh, God.
Oh, boy. I am worried about these numbers. These numbers look very high. We're going to have to lower our ratings.
What is it? What did you do?
How many do we rate? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
I think faction cards are supposed to look very appealing, though.
5.7 is the average, actually. That's not bad.
No.
That one's really helping the curve.
I mean, if we were to rate...
Flattened off the curve, right?
When we get to all the other standard cards, if we do those, I mean, it'll fix everything just fine.
Also, if we sort this by release SKU, like the product code, I'm sure also there will be a trend of like it just goes up as you get to the further SKUs, because those early cards were mostly terrible.
Okay, can we clap? We gotta get out of here.
Are you done?
Yeah.
We got all kinds of stuff to talk about still.
Oh,
Shut up.
All right, fine. Hold
I'm just trying to save your data.
Yeah, I bet that's what it is. Well, now I have 53 hours and 18 minutes left to record.
We don't have to fill it all tonight, I promise you. Be all right.
I don't know.